Everybody. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The red wave is coming in strong. The red wave is coming in strong, baby. Victory in Ohio and Indiana. Yes, yes. Let's go ahead and play this clip right quick. Play some more as well. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Deunta.
Voters in Indiana and Ohio are heading to the polls today in key primaries that the White House is very closely watching. The Buckeye State is setting up a contest that could determine who controls the Senate.
And over in the Hoosier state, President Trump is pushing to unseat 7 Republican lawmakers who voted against his redistricting efforts last year. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster joins us now from St. John, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis. Great to see you, Shaq. So you talked to voters there in that district. What do they think about the president's campaign to essentially punish Republicans who defied him? And what are they saying about the overall state of the country right now?
Hi there, and good afternoon to you. You know, it's definitely a
Matt,
mixed
good morning,
those
Matt.
Conversations that I've been having here in one of those districts that are being
Good morning.
by one of those Republicans who voted against the president's plan to redistrict and draw more Republican-friendly maps. President Trump calling that incumbent a Republican in name only, and even endorsing a challenger for him in this election. And this redistricting battle, based on the conversations I've been having, have been top of mind for some voters. I want you to listen to some of those conversations now. You wanted to see the state redistrict its congressional lines.
That's right. I just came out here to show my disapproval and hopefully adjust it going forward.
Yes, he did. Yep.
They were out here supporting, or one of them that was supporting the redistricting effort and one of them that wasn't. And so because I was not supporting that effort, I voted against that candidate.
If Trump endorsed them, I voted for him.
A few moments later.
It's coming. There it is. All right. There's the check mark. NBC News has projected it in Indiana's 11th Senate District. Brian Schmutzler, a challenger backed by President Donald Trump, has defeated incumbent State Senator Linda Rogers, one of the Republican state senators who voted against the Trump-backed plan to redraw the state's congressional district. That is the 4th pink splotch you see on the map right here. That means that's the color we assigned to the pro-Trump side tonight. That is 4 incumbent members of the Indiana State Senate, incumbent Republican members, including a member of the Republican leadership, have now been defeated. And all of these 4 incumbents who have been defeated, per NBC News projection, have been defeated in landslides. Boy.
So we got to talk about a bloodbath that happened out in Indiana and Ohio involving some rhino Republicans who got absolutely destroyed, humiliated.
I'm glad that Vivek won. You know, he's a Republican. He's about an American first person, so I appreciate that. I know he's supposed to be a Hindu belief, but other than that, it's cool. As long as he's talking about America and put America first, I'm cool with that.
By Trump-backed candidates after they refused to redistrict like President Trump asked.
We're almost 90 minutes past polls closing in your race. What are you hearing? How confident are you feeling?
You know, I think it's going to be close. That was always the expectation going into it. I'm still confident that we'll prevail, but it's going to be a tight one. And, you know, given the money that's been spent against us, that's, you know, really actually even a victory in its own.
Yeah, I mean, the $13 million is just stunning that that's being spent against you in a Republican-on-Republican race. I mean, it all comes back to your and your colleagues' opposition to the new congressional maps. And after that, I know, Senator, you received death threats, that you said your home was swatted, and Trump has attacked you in deeply personal ways. He called you an America Last politician. He called you an incompetent and ineffective rhino. And he said that you betrayed his voters by voting against redistricting in Indiana. I mean, how do you deal with all that? I mean, you are I understand, a lifelong Republican. You've been doing this for a long time, and that's where it is now.
The way he talks when he ran his campaign, you can tell he's not a rhino. He's not going to be a rhino. I don't see him flipping on us when he gets in. If he do win in November, I don't think he's going to flip on us. I got faith in him.
Well, I mean, the truth is, I know that Trump doesn't really have any idea who I am or any idea who my opponent is. This is all just designed to try to show that Washington, D.C. can control Indiana. And that's really what this race has been about. Trump is perhaps not as popular in my district as he once was, but he is still overwhelmingly popular. But really what this race is about is how many Hoosiers are going to recognize that all of this marketing is designed to try to tell them from out of state who to vote for, versus how many just believe it and buy it. And that's what this race is really about, because Hoosiers don't like being told what to do, even by somebody that they respect and like, for those that feel that way about Donald Trump.
Well, John, President Trump has been seeking revenge, and tonight he is getting it. He has had a successful effort in at least 3 of the Indiana State Senate primary races, and one of the Trump challengers has failed. So right now the scorecard that the White House is watching very carefully is 3-1, and the Trump-backed candidates is leading in the other 2. What are we talking about here? Why are we talking about the Indiana State Senate? Because the senators, the Republicans who have served for nearly 20 years, each one of them who lost, voted against the president's redistricting
That was stupid to do
last
that.
December. They said that they did not believe it was appropriate to redraw those maps. The White House has said, we are going to throw you out of office, and that is what is happening this evening. It was a dramatic campaign, millions of dollars spent, and the White House is winning this revenge war, if you will, tonight. Only one non-Trump backed a challenger, Senator Greg Good.
Yeah, they out of here, the rhinos.
His race was a bit peculiar. He was running against 2 people named Wilson, but he is holding on. So,
Yeah, so you say that, you heard that. Now, again, this was a complete and total bloodbath. We're going to go over more of the results, right? Because the results are coming in. And, President Trump, in his endorsement, certainly still means something. And MAGA's not dead. And that's showing up in the results, which is something that is driving the black pill right insane, right? Because, again, they swore up and down that MAGA was dead, right? MAGA's dead. But last night showed that MAGA is, in fact, not dead. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And we turn now to your vote and the 2026 primary. At least 6 Republican state senators who voted not to redraw Indiana's maps have lost or are losing their primaries. Let's bring in News 8's government reporter Garrett Bergquist now for a closer look at some of those races. Garrett?
Phil, these were very decisive wins in most cases for the primary challengers. All of them were endorsed by both President Donald Trump and Governor Mike Braun. Let's begin in District 41. That's Senator Greg Walker's district around Columbus. Walker has lost to State Representative Michelle Davis by a roughly 60-40 margin. It's worth noting Walker had originally announced he would not run again. He changed his mind after Davis began her campaign. Now to District 21. That's Howard, Tipton, and part of Hamilton counties. Longtime Senator Jim Buck will not return to the State House. Tipton County Commissioner Tracy Powell took home nearly 2/3 of the vote in that race. Over in District 23, which covers West Lafayette and Points West, this is very interesting. We are now at a virtual tie. Senator Spencer Deary leading by 3 votes at this hour. And in District 38, which is the Terre Haute area, Senator Greg Good is heading to the November ballot. He took home more than half of the vote despite facing 2 challengers. I'm Garrett Bergquist from Wish TV and WishTV.com.
A busy night, Garrett. Thank you very much. Let's take a closer look at some of the results from other races this evening as well. First, the District 1 Senate race in Northwest Indiana. Trevor DeVries defeats Senator Dan Darnell with 75% of the votes tonight. In District 6, James Starkey is leading with 56% against Senator Rick Levi.
Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe.
Schmutzler.
Let's get to 2,000 subscribers.
Senator Linda Rogers. Schmutzler took home 59% of the votes tonight. And in District 19, Blake Feichter defeated longtime state Senator Travis Holtman. Feichter took home about 60% of the votes there. And our primary.
Wow. That is complete and total domination, right? There's no other way that you can frame this. You had Trump come in and say, hey, we want to redistrict. There are Republicans in Indiana that support it. There are a few of them who did not support it. And the voters ultimately decided that, the state should have redistrict in order to gain more House seats in order to prevent these lunatics, these socialists, these Marxists from taking back power and control. And the Republicans who were opposed to it lost, right? They lost big time, which again proves that.
My thing is this: if you're a Democrat and you voted Democrat all your life, it's okay to vote one time in your life Republican. Why not? I'm Republican. I was a Democrat. I get a red pill. Never gonna vote for a Democrat again in my life, period. But other than that, at least one time in your life a Republican, if you're a Democrat. It won't hurt.
MAGA's not dead. Trump's influence is not gone, right? That Trump is still the leader of the Republican Party, and that his endorsement, at least in the primary, is like gold, right? Like
Like, share, and subscribe, everybody, if you haven't subscribed to the channel.
Bitcoin, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. People can say what they want, but ultimately the voters decide.
Let's
the
get
voters
2,000
said,
subscribers.
Hey, punishing the Republicans who refused to redistrict, which means that they didn't do what the voters wanted, right? And I understand that everybody out in Indiana may have not wanted to do it, but you got to understand, we live in a time period where we can't play these games with Democrats, right? We can't play this game of, we're not going to do it because we don't want to set the precedent, and we're afraid that Democrats going to do it to us, and this going to put this country in a dark place. It's like, bro, we're already there. We're already there, right? Looking at what Democrats are doing out in Virginia, that should tell you everything you need to know. We're at the point where Democrats are hell-bent on taking away representation, a voice away from conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters. They don't want us to have a say in anything. You think that Democrats actually want us to have representation? They don't. They don't. So why should we give them any representation?
Unless you're part of the alphabet community.
States, if they don't want us to have representation in their state. Just look at the Northeast. Look at the North. That shows you exactly what Democrats think about whether or not Republicans should have representation in Congress. They don't. They don't think we should. So we got to stop being nice to these people. We're not living in 2004, right? We're not living in that time period anymore. We're living in a different era, and in this era, everything really is about power, right? That's what it's about. And if you're not willing to embrace that, then you're not cut out for this, right? You're not cut out for the time period that we're in. We're in a fight for the future of this country, and the stakes are higher than they've ever been. Again, we're dealing with socialists, with Marxists, right? We're not dealing with the Democrat Party of the 90s, the Bill Clinton Democrats, not even the Obama Democrats, right? We're not dealing with those people. We're dealing with the AOCs, the Bernies,
Progressives,
the Gavin Newsoms, right? We're dealing with radical far left. That is who we're dealing with, okay? So these Republicans stood up against the president, and they got voted out. It is what it is. The voters made that decision, right? So also another...
Yes, get them out of here. Get them rhinos out of here.
The black pill right is Vivek Ramaswamy, who won the primary for governor out in Ohio in a landslide.
When the Department of Government
Phantom Films.
was announced,
Welcome to the chat, Phantom Films. Welcome to the chat. Thank you.
They were labeled as the two people that were going to spearhead the Doge movement. It wasn't too long after that we heard that Vivek would indeed be stepping back in pursuit of political office in Ohio. He's running for the governorship there. His primary tonight, resulting in him getting an easy victory as expected. And Vivek, he's speaking to a crowd right now in Ohio. Let's dip into a little bit of his remarks. This is live.
To take Ohio to new heights. How we're going to wring out the waste, fraud, and abuse out of an abused Medicaid system to put that money back in your pockets where it belongs and to bring down health insurance premiums while we're at it. To make life more affordable in this state so when our kids graduate, if you work hard and you play by the rules, you get to have a good life.
Red Sox, you can be moved from the chat, bro. Or we'll be a male or a female. Remove Trump. No, I'll remove you from the chat.
And then dream for an even better life for your kids. That you're free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is my pledge to every person in this state who voted for me today and who will vote for us in November. Our pledge to you is that we will deliver you lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools. And my pledge to every person who does not vote for us this November is also lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools, and we will protect your right to complain about it at every step of the way. But what I will tell you is that
Thank you. Appreciate that.
dawn for
Thank you.
Ohio,
Let's get to 2000.
where we reconnect with our roots of ambition, the state that raised Neil Armstrong and John Glenn and the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison, the state that led the first industrial revolution, the state where Toledo led the world in glass production, the state where Akron led in rubber production, the state where Youngstown and Cleveland led in steel production, the state where Dayton led in computing, the state where my hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City, will once again be at the forefront of our country, the bleeding edge of our country from the center of our country, a state that patriots across this country actually flock to and flock back to, including so many of our kids and grandkids whom I have thought they were finding refuge in other states coming back to, not because we forced them to, but because this is the state in the United States, and dare I say, this is the state on planet Earth where the best opportunities are actually available.
I'm going to play this next.
That is why I'm running to be your next governor. It is not for fame. It is not for fortune. Our family has been blessed beyond our wildest imagination, beyond what my parents
Thank you guys. Thank you.
parents could have
Let's get
imagined
it.
just a few decades ago. But I am in this, and I speak for Rob and myself here. We are in this because we believe that together, with the complementary skills that we bring to the table, we are the two people in this state who can work together as a team to lead Ohio back to our true potential, to our greatest heights, to put more money in your pocket, to bring down those costs, and to give our kids the world-class education that is the birthright of every Ohioan.
Yeah. So I think you guys get the gist of what Vivek is pitching here, which is lower costs, better education, opening up Ohio as a state where businesses can come in and they can create jobs and opportunity, right? The exact opposite of what Democrats are doing in blue states. I personally, for the life of me, don't understand how anybody can rationalize voting for a Democrat over Vivek. I really don't get it. I don't understand it. But I was told by the Black Pill right that Vivek was going to lose. Okay. We're going to see come the general election, but he did defeat their candidate, right, in the primary. But we're going to see in the general election. If Vivek wins in the general election, again, I think that there are going to be a whole lot of individuals who are going to have egg on their face. But again, I just personally feel like, there's no rational way to justify voting for the Democrat candidate who is pro-lockdown, pro-mask, right? A radicalized socialist like all of them, to be honest with you. I don't understand how you vote for that, especially seeing what's happening in these blue states, right? How do you vote for that over Vivek, right? I don't get it. I don't understand. I understand people have some beefs with Vivek over certain issues. I get that. But that still, in my opinion, does not justify voting for a Democrat. That's what politics is. It is really, unfortunately, hey, we got to pick the person who is, the least bad.
Good morning, Bruce.
And I don't even think Vivek
Good morning,
is bad.
everybody.
He's good.
Donald.
But, some people are looking at it that way.
88, Matt, everybody, good morning.
This is what real life represents, right? Real life is how people actually vote, right? And you're saying that, at least in this primary, Vivek, he won in a landslide. Again, 82.5% of the vote. It's pretty good, right?
Good morning, Good morning, Brian.
General election. I just don't see how anybody can justify voting for a Democrat over Vivek, but we're going to see, right? There are individuals out here on the Black Pill right who are telling, conservatives and Trump supporters, we need to vote for Democrats, right? Support Democrats in the midterms. And then they're saying that if Democrats win in 2028, they're going to leave the country, right? Because Democrats are, going to go after conservatives, but, vote for Democrats to teach Trump a lesson, right? To teach Republicans a lesson, while the same people who are telling you to vote Democrat are planning to lead the country if Democrats win. Those are the type of people that we're dealing with, right? Those are the type of people that we're dealing with. I personally believe that it is better to be a team player, right? To understand that, okay, every candidate is not perfect, But as long as we're moving in the right direction, okay, as long as we move in the right direction, we pick up wins, we continue to pick up win after win after win after win, that is how you ultimately get the change that you want. You don't get the change that you want overnight. You don't get the change that you want with the perfect candidate. You get the change that you want by consistently winning over extended periods of time, right? Not just one election, but 2 elections, 3 elections, 4 elections. That is how you actually get to what you want, to what we want for this country. And we won't get there taking a step back because we have people who are undermining our movement for their own personal gain. Because their argument is essentially that we need instant gratification. We need everything we want now, even though the Congress is split. It's a 50-50 split. It's not legislatively.
No, I'm not faking MAGA, cellar door. I'm a Black American, 43 years old. Ain't no faking here, bro.
Possible to get everything that we want. But it would be possible if we continue to win over time, right? To build up to a supermajority, to keep House control, to keep control of the White House. That's how we eventually get what we want. But we can't get what we want when it's 50-50. We can't get what we want if we lose the midterm elections, right? Because, for whatever reason, people decided to sit it out because Trump didn't deport enough illegals, right? Even though he's tried his best. He's tried his best. But again, imagine what he could do if we won the midterms in a landslide. Imagine what Trump would be emboldened to do, right? He would be emboldened to do a lot more.
That Democrats hope to pick up in Virginia. So we're looking at a situation where Democrats may not actually pick up the seats that they wanted to pick up in Virginia, and Republicans might end up picking a total of 5 if you include Alabama, Tennessee, and Louisiana. Obviously, in Louisiana, that was the court case that the Supreme Court ruled on, where they have no.
Yeah, I'm a Black American, period. Family from Mississippi, Texas. I was born and raised in Chicago.
A choice but to go back and actually change those maps, and they could be looking at changing those maps to down to just one Democrat district.
Yeah, Democrats might have royally stepped in it when it comes to this redistricting situation. I know they like to claim that
Tennessee, that's what's up.
Good, but in reality, it was Democrats, and the proof is in the eating, right? As Joe Biden would say. When you look at Democrats, it's just a bunch of lip bumping. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. We're going to fight back against Republicans with this redistricting. They've done it in one state, Virginia, right? In California, of course, but everywhere else.
Lou, that's what's up.
Gerrymandered those states so much that ain't really much left to squeeze out of those oranges.
I'm going to keep on giving you guys good video clips.
They may attempt it in a place like Illinois, but good luck. I mean, that map is going to look absolutely horrible, which I showed you guys a proposed map from Illinois, and like those.
Again, thank you guys for subscribing. Let's get it. Let's get it. 2,000 subs. Let's get it.
Districts that snaked the entire length of the state from Chicago all the way down. They've gerrymandered. My point is they've gerrymandered those states so much that it's virtually impossible for them to squeeze anything more out of a lot of these Democrat-led states. So I'm not too worried about their threats. And it's not looking too good for these Democrats, man. Not in the polls, not just from the regular voters, just out on the streets. Because you got situations like this with Harris Faulkner. Make sure you guys smack that like button. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out my merch, here's a t-shirt right here that you can purchase.
Congratulations, Bruce, man.
Description box below.
Guys, check out Bruce on the Loose, too. Check out his channel. Again, check out Bruce's channel, Bruce on the Loose channel. Like and subscribe to his channel.
All right. Let's hop right on into it, shall we?
Are you nodding at me? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now
help him out.
Political climate.
He got 300 subs, 330 subs. Help him out.
That as I'm a Democrat, but I think that a lot of the independents, they feel left out. Just a classic example, they can't vote in the primaries. So how are you gonna, encourage voter activity? If
congratulations, Bruce. Congratulations.
They have to wait till November, when in New York, the primary already decides who the candidate will be in office.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And my notes have you as a moderate Democrat. I'm just curious, what does that mean to you right now?
I feel, and I had this conversation with Dominic before we came on. I feel like a lot of independents have been disenfranchised. I feel strongly that I register as a Democrat.
I'm a Trump supporter all day long, man. I don't be faking it. This is my channel. Check it free.
Bill Clinton Democrat. Bill Clinton was the first president I voted for. And I feel like the Democratic Party has lost its ways. But I don't want to be an independent because then I can't vote in the primary. So I want to stay as a Democrat because I want to be able to vote.
So critical. This is like a fresh perspective this morning because a lot of times independents don't really speak up about that. They just don't vote until they can't.
Right. When Trump, you know what I'm saying, be out, not president no more in 2 more years, I'm going to still vote Republican regardless. I'm going to still say MAGA all day, period.
So long story short, she's leaving the Democrat Party.
Ocasio-Cortez. Just a few of the Democrats.
Hey, hold on, Harris. Long story short, she's leaving the Democrat Party. Okay? The only reason why she's still a registered Democrat is because she wanted to be able to choose who she gets to vote for in the general elections. And one way to do that is by registering for one of the parties, and she obviously is a lot closer to the Democrat Party.
Thank you, guys. We're growing. Thank you, guys.
So
thank you. Let's get it.
She ain't really a Democrat.
2,000 subs. Let's get it.
Not
68 people in the chat. Let's get it.
Democrat Party. So let me get this straight. Before the 2024 election, Democrats had lost millions of voters, and we've talked about that in the past. After the 2024 election, I believe that was up to November. So literally a year after the election, they had lost upwards of another million registered voters. Okay. Even still to this day, they are still losing voters. And I've shown you guys those video clips and those videos. And I keep forgetting to put that whole thing in. I keep forgetting to make a playlist on all of those videos of people leaving the Democrat Party. I have to remember to do that. But with all of that, still till this day, they're losing voters. And yeah, sure, she's not joining the Republican side. And that's cool. That's fine. Not everybody is going to join our side of the political aisle. That's just unrealistic expectations, right? Although, I obviously would love it. We'd welcome her with open arms over here, Hey, come on over. But you better vote red, and you better vote America First red, okay? But that's just unrealistic. But the bottom line is people are still leaving the Democrat Party. Still. Not looking good for
Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Name is Deunta.
I want to show you guys this. And I know this headline is says a little bit something negative about Trump as well, but I'll tell you why I'm not really concerned about that here in a second. New poll savages Trump, but Democrats are also gut punched. All right. Let's see here. The latest CNN poll released on Wednesday found that Trump's approval rating on the economy had fallen to a new career low of 31%. And here's the thing. He's fallen to a low, and I don't believe he's this low. I do believe
Brad, what's up?
I do agree with that. Okay. The reason why he's low is because of the gas prices. I mean, if we genuinely want to know how things are going to go, look at the gas prices. If gas prices are where they are today, come the midterms, yeah, we up Poops Creek without a paddle in sight. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100.
Thanks, Brad.
If
man,
Trump
appreciate you.
Gas prices, which I believe he will. If the gas prices today are the same come the midterms, we cooked. Overly cooked. Burn. Just throw the whole thing away.
Talk some shit. Go ahead, man. Let it rip.
You got to scrap that dinner. Y'all ordering out tonight.
Let it rip.
That dinner is toast. We toast.
Go ahead.
But I do believe the gas prices will be a whole lot better, much, much better than what they are today. And they're going to have to be. They're going to have to be. Because that's what I believe a lot of folks who don't really pay attention to politics. And of course, gas prices have a lot to do with everything because everything is moved via fuel, right? Transportation, okay? We just saw Spirit Airlines shut down, and one of the final nails in the coffin was the gas prices, was the fuel prices. Obviously, they had already been spiraling, and Elizabeth Warren had already put the nail in the coffin for them, but the final nail was the gas prices, right? They probably could have lasted a little bit longer, but eventually would have flopped anyway because of what Elizabeth Warren and Democrats had previously done. But the gas prices do genuinely matter. They matter a lot. And so that's why I'm not worried about this 31%, because come the midterms, that will be much, 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 much higher than that.
Pro Oaks, just like you guys said, when Biden was giving out the money to Ukraine, you guys were saying that Biden, the president, got nothing to do with gas prices. Now Trump got something to do with gas prices. Which one is it?
And Trump has the keys, and I believe he will most certainly use them to get that back down to a reasonable, or get this up and get the gas prices back down.
For 4 years, everybody kept saying it's not Biden's fault that the gas prices is up. Soon Trump get in office. Okay? Oh, it's his fault.
However, have not capitalized on Trump's shortcomings in his agenda, according to the poll. The poll found that 74% of Americans believed congressional Democrats have the wrong priorities. Yeah.
Blaming Biden for gas prices.
Three-fourths. It is probably 80% if we're being serious, right? Over 80% because, the CNN, Communist News Network, and my humble opinion is what that stands for. So we're talking over 80% of Americans believe that Democrats have the wrong priorities. And I agree 100%. It is something that I've been saying for quite some time. They are prioritizing illegals over American citizens. And you heard Uncle Trump perfectly call that out when he said, hey, do you agree with this? Stand up if you agree with this statement. We should put American citizens, what was it? We should take care of American citizens first over illegal aliens or something along those lines. And every single Republican stood up and clapped, cheered, and every single Democrat just sat with their arms crossed. Do you think people forgot about that moment? No. And of course, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to remind folks of that moment as we get closer to the midterms. And if I forget, just kind of remind me. Sometimes I do forget things. But I will, make a video reminding folks, hey, this is the Democrat priority right here. Illegals, right? Including 55% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents. At the same time, it's also revealed 35%, which is also 1 point higher than his all-time low in the CNN polling. So, yeah, there you go. I'm not worried about his low polling. What is telling is that these Democrats are getting absolutely cooked, not only by America, but also by their own party and independents. So, not looking good for Democrats at all. Not looking good. Okay. Now, I want to play this clip because this one was quite interesting as well. Check it out.
How would you guys describe the Democratic Party right now? Lost.
Incorrect.
Trying.
Confused.
I'll say struggling.
But I would also say struggling.
Lost, incorrect, struggling. One person said something positive, trying. Yeah. One person had something positive to say.
To offset the pain at the pump with increased
domestic production, and the White House is placing the blame for the pain at the pump squarely on the shoulders of Vladimir Putin, calling it the Putin price hike. Biden's promising, though, to offset the pain at the pump with increased domestic production and increased supply now, tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to release about 1 million barrels a day for 6 months now. ABC News business correspondent Deidre Bolton joining us to break it all down for us. So, Deidre, kind of walk us through Biden's plan to offset these prices.
Kira, you referenced that 1 million barrels per day for the next 180 days. This is a huge amount. That puts the Strategic Petroleum Reserve back at lowest levels since 1984. So we have to stress that significance. RBC is a bank. They put out a note essentially saying that this is the last
not a victim here.
we have to
Doomed
shoot.
to
Some critics
never a
actually
victim.
of the program saying the U.S.
You a
better
victim.
not have its own energy emergency coming up, because those levels being at the lowest level since 1984 really does stand out. So 6 months, 1 million barrels per day. And of course, the idea here, Kira, is to relieve some of the pain at the pump. Collectively, we are paying on average 47% more this time.
Doom 2 usually got in the chat, so you know what I'm saying? Wind the camera back and see what I'm talking about, where we going with this. You just jumping in saying anything.
This year versus last, Kira.
It's just hard.
Read the chat, read the room before you just start even saying anything.
One of the stations right there as you're getting onto the highway, up just past $6 a gallon, and so a lot of people are wondering what immediate impact this plan is going to have on the amount of oil availability domestically, because he sure tore into oil companies.
Doom 2, you jumped in my chat. I've been MAGA.
Sense of
I don't know who the hell you are.
to help everyday Americans
Like
that
and
can't
subscribe.
afford to buy gas
Welcome to
or
the
pay
chat.
their bills. And sometimes
Name
it's
is
these
Deunta.
stations that are gouging prices, taking advantage of what's going on. And at the same time, these companies really should do what's right in a time like this.
Kira, you make a great point. No one pays more for gasoline because they want to. They do it because they have to. This obviously hits the working classes and the poor a lot more than any other group, because it becomes a higher percentage of their take-home wages. We heard President Biden say this should help by about 10 to 35 cents per gallon. My sources are saying that's a little bit on the high side. It's probably more like 10 to 20 cents per gallon, but any help is, of course, appreciated, Kira.
Deidre Bolton, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
And I don't even know how positive that is. They're trying. Like, you still ain't done nothing. So, not looking good there either. And a lot of folks are talking about how the Democrat Party is moving in the wrong direction.
Real question is, has the Democratic Party moved too far to the left to be acceptable? Are candidates like Plattner, and obviously Mandami.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Publicity.
Almost there.
Jeffries,
2,000 subs. Why not?
Himself has moved so much more aggressively left in terms of the rhetoric. Is this party going to go into the midterms and move back to the center, or is it going to really be seen as too far to the left? Right now, you can see in the polls that despite the fact that the voters are unhappy with the economy and the Republicans, they obviously think that the Democratic Party has drifted too far to the left, and that's why it's coming out lower than the Republicans in virtually every poll.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I'm in the Democrat Party, I'm panicking right now. Why? Because there has only been 3 times in like the past 100 years where the party in power held on to power in the midterms. 3 times. I believe it was like in the 20s, the 70s, and then like 06, maybe 04, 02. If I remember correctly. I could be wrong on those dates. But 3 times has that happened in like the past 100 years. This should be a walk in the park. This should be taking candy from a baby, right? Like that old saying goes. This should be like taking candy from a baby. This should be easy. We should most certainly take over the House. We should most certainly take over the Senate if we don't take the House. But those two things are a major, major question right now. And that hasn't been done, or I should say it's only been done 3 times in 100 years. 3 times. This could be a historic 4th.
How you doing, Stephen Drake?
I'd be panicking. I'd be absolutely panicking. Now, I will give the Democrats credit. They hide it well. But I know internally, things are not looking good. I mean, even if we want to talk about this poll, which I'm not going to play this whole clip because I've shown you guys this in a previous video, but their numbers, even amongst Black people, aren't doing very well. I want to find, where was that part of the clip? Yeah, here we are.
Have they gained any of that coalition back from where they fell down to in 2024? But take a look here. Okay. Choice for election among African Americans. Kamala Harris was leading amongst that group in the pre-election polling by 63 points. Are Democrats gaining back any of that ground? It's a 62-point advantage now. Republicans are holding on to the gains that they made among African Americans in 2024. Republicans are gaining among African Americans.
They aren't gaining any ground. This should be the time where you are gaining ground. This should be the time where you're not only on the Republicans' heels, but you're surpassing them. They haven't gained any ground. And yeah, sure, those numbers aren't great, of course. I don't expect them to be fantastic. But for those numbers to not have improved in a midterm year says a lot. Says a lot. It is not looking good for the Democrat Party. It's looking pretty terrible.
Thank you.
If I do say so myself, there's some serious trouble, man. People are waking up to the fact that they value illegals over them. People are waking up to the fact that out of all the talk that Democrats spew out, which, hey, I will admit, some of it does sound good, you know? It's always, I don't know if you guys know this, but I always...
Zach, what up?
Obviously, because I'm in politics on a daily basis now. It's always interesting when Democrats go silent, like the politicians go quiet, like when something big happens, because I'm like, I wonder where they meet at. Because you know they're meeting somewhere. And I wonder who's writing the speeches. Like, who's giving them the talking points? Who's giving them the key phrases to use, the key words to use, the tone?
For that same Indiana treatment forever. That's right, in perpetuity. But Trump just picked up the phone, and now the entire GOP rhino establishment in Columbia is absolutely losing their freaking minds. South Carolina, you need to understand, is a ruby red state.
Thank you, guys.
A Republican supermajority. They can even override governor vetoes. Yet we've been getting Democrat-level representation, liberal judges, and protected seat for Jim Clyburn. But last night in Indiana, oh, folks, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not a Tucker Carlson person, Candace Owens, or the twins. I'm Deunta Lockett. That's it. You know, I'm not from the flip MAGA because of Candace Owens or Alex Jones. Fuck them. I'm Deunta. I know what I'm living. I know what I see. I know what I like and I know what I dislike. I like Trump. I love America. God is in control. God is in control.
Total wipeout of the establishment, some of whom had been serving 20 years as senators in the Indiana State House. That wipeout, folks, 7 of 8 of those seats already called. The 8th race is separated by 3 votes. We don't know who's going to win that yet, folks. They've got to get the final tally in. But Adam Morgan, my friend from South Carolina, state legislator down there, is calling for that same Indiana treatment right now in South Carolina. So stick around for the clip of the AG candidate getting exposed, though, folks, because you won't believe just how corrupt it is in South Carolina. You won't believe who this AG candidate calls the Godfather. This is the state-level battle that proves that America First is winning on a national scale. But I want you to see what this so-called supermajority actually delivers. Adam Morgan posted this. Okay, look at this. They elected a former liberal Democrat legislator for a judge, and another judge who marched in the Pink Hat protest against Trump. And then, folks, my friend Adam Morgan sent me this. They then voted to increase funding for the South Carolina Arts Commission after the Queer History podcast scandal. And only 21 Republicans voted no. This is exactly why we need real rhino purges. Folks, this only happens in the primaries. You have got to vote in your primaries. And guess what? South Carolina hasn't had their primary yet. It's June 6th, so this is going to get hot. The Lindsey Graham influenced establishment down there keeps delivering uniparty results. And McMaster is pulling every trick to protect them. Apparently, from all sources on the ground, Lindsey Graham is running that Republican Party in South Carolina. While these rhinos in Columbia are blowing your tax dollars on radical queer history podcasts and protecting Jim Clyburn, I want to make sure your hard money stays with companies that actually love this country. And folks, MyPillow has a Mother's Day sale going on right G-Clip in just a couple minutes, folks. And trust me, the Godfather reveal is worse than you think. But first, we have to look at how they're rigging the maps. SCOTUS just killed race-based gerrymandering. Clyburn's snake-shaped 6th district, as you can see here, was drawn illegally to protect one Democrat seat. Redrawing it flips the seat red, okay, and it offsets those rigged blue states of the Northeast and hands Trump a massive midterm weapon. And you can see here, it is actually, this goofy, silly district is cut so it hits these black population centers. That's why it's got these funny little outcroppings on it, okay? Now, Adam Morgan laid it out perfectly. The rhinos fought it hard, and McMaster is acting like a Democrat tool. And here's the thing. Morgan just dropped the hammer on why he is refusing to call this session. I want you to watch this video. This is Adam Morgan with Matt Gaetz on One America News.
What's happening in South Carolina?
Well, the tides are turning. Just a few hours ago, every member of the establishment told us that they were not going to be redistricting, that, sorry, they're just not interested. And by the way, we have a Republican supermajority in South Carolina, and then we have Jim Clyburn, one of the lead Democrats, one of Pelosi's biggest allies, who sits in a very racist, race-based district right in the lower part of South Carolina.
And folks,
we all know it.
I need to tell you, we are going to show you. I've got graphs on Clyburn. You're going to want to screenshot those so you can talk to your friends in South Carolina to show you just how bad he actually is.
It was drawn based on that, and yet even after the Supreme Court says, hey, it's unconstitutional, it's racist, you guys got to redraw them, Republican establishment says they don't want to. So we've been hammering them, and now the governor has come out and said, oh, actually, instead of being opposed, maybe we should look at it. Now we're finding out that the House has flipped, and they're for it now. And there's really only one holdout, and it's the majority leader in the Senate, Shane Massey. He's kind of the last one blocking it, and if the people let their voices be heard, I think we're going to finally right this wrong. I mean, let's be honest. Why does this matter? It's really not even about control of some chamber. It's racist. We have districts that were drawn blatantly in a racist way. Are we going to right the wrong in this country finally, or are we going to forever, keep racism alive and well and telling the next generation that it's fine?
Now, folks, why would South Carolina governor say he won't call a special session, then refuse to pressure the legislature one way or the other? Simple, because redistricting is now harder. In a special session called by the governor, the bill passes by a simple majority. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about how he doesn't need to call a special session. Adam Morgan is telling me that is not the case. If the legislature calls them back through signing die resolution, it requires a 2/3 vote of both chambers to even take up a bill. It is a much harder lift. And we all know Republican senators like Shane Massey are opposed to redistricting. So here we're going to get to Henry's number down here. So McMaster's number is 803-734-2100. If you are in the state of South Carolina, you need to call. If you're from other states, feel free to call him too, because this is affecting you as well if they are not eliminating these race-based maps. Now, in the text chain with Adam Morgan, I'm going to read to you just a little bit of this. I said, are we getting a new map? And he said he's hopeful. He said, but the Senate and governor are not supporting. So the governor is flip-flopping on this, saying we're going to support, we're not going to support. You know, he won't do the hard steps. And he said, everyone needs to hound the Republican state senators. So if you are in South Carolina, you have to call your state senator to make this happen. Otherwise, we need to give them the Indiana treatment. And again, those primaries are upcoming. There is one key person, though, who is blocking the redrawing the race-based South Carolina 6th District, and that is Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey out of Edgefield. His number, 803-212-6330. His email is shanemassey@scsenate.gov. Take a screenshot of that so you can save those numbers, folks. Just stop the video for a second, grab that, because you're going to have to be giving him a call. Folks, if you think I am exaggerating on why this seat must be redrawn, I'm not. I want you to look at Clyburn's record while rhinos in Columbia protect him. And I'm going to give you two graphics here. I want you to stop the video, screenshot these, so you have this when you're talking to your friends in South Carolina, because this is important. Here's his record. He voted for the massive spending bills, the Omnibus Plus Inflation Reduction Act, which fueled inflation and crushed groceries and gas prices. He voted against the Secure Border Act in 2023, which blocked strong border security as the crisis exploded when Democrats were telling you they were doing it all. Okay, and then he voted with Biden-Harris 95 to 99% of the time, a near 0% conservative score. And folks, this map, look at this map, okay? This isn't just a map. This is how they keep you from having a voice by their race-based districts. Now, he was also pushing the radical woke agenda. So here's the second graphic. Strong supporter of the Equality Act. He backed DEI in transgender military policies. Like, what the heck? And he votes for radical arts and DEI funding. Again, trying to perpetuate a problem that we need to get rid of. This is who the current rigged maps are shielding. And Laura Loomer just exposed this terrible AG candidate, folks, who calls Clyburn the Godfather. This is the Republican Attorney General candidate. This is how corrupt it is in South Carolina. This is how corrupt it is in a lot of red states, folks. You can look at Utah, you can look at Georgia, you can look at a number of them, because they realize the only way this uniparty can control things is to run Democrats as Republicans. Watch this video.
That's crazy.
Another special guest you're going to hear from is Congressman Jim Clyburn. Yes, say it.
This is the candidate.
Anybody wants to mess with me, they got to mess with Big Jim first. Okay?
Wow.
And I can tell you, John Matthews is the godfather of politics in Orangeburg, which he is. Jim Clyburn is the godfather of South Carolina. So he's here tonight.
Again, this is the Republican candidate for AG in South Carolina. Do you see how bad this is? Oh, no, it gets worse. Check this one out. From Gunther Eagleman, fake Republican South Carolina AG candidate David Pascoe swore on the Bible. Swore on the Bible. He's never
Now I'm keeping my hat on.
in his life. This is shocking. Watch this clip.
I can put my hand on a Bible and say that I've never voted for a Democrat for president. So that was easy. Thank you.
Joe Biden doesn't have to ask for my endorsement. He's got it.
Wow.
I've gone door to door for two candidates. One was in 1998. The other one was this weekend in Iowa, where it was minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit for Joe Biden. So don't anybody ever ask me to go door to door again.
Well, I got it. So he endorsed him. He door knocked for him in this super cold weather. But the heck, he didn't vote for him, folks. If you buy that, he is like Gavin Newsom in his ability to lie. Again, this is who they are running in South Carolina for the Republican AG. Get him the heck out of there, South Carolina. He's pathetic. But, folks, I want to give you some good news. Your pressure is working. Trump is on the phone with them. These members of the South Carolina Senate GOP have a scheduled call. This was yesterday with Donald Trump to discuss congressional redistricting. Trump asked for the call after speaking at length with Senate Majority Leader Shane Macy yesterday evening. Now, again, he called. This pressure is beginning to work. And look at this next post by Adam Morgan. South Carolina House Speaker moves to redistrict. They can do this in spite of the governor. The House will take up sine die resolution, which includes reapportionment, paving the way for a special session. It's a huge first step, but again, this is much tougher than the governor calling a special session that we talked about. Look at this next post from the South Carolina Republican Party. Of course, they want you to sign their petition and probably get your email and ask for donations. Folks, I would give your donations straight to Adam Morgan. Support a fighter. Support other fighters in South Carolina. But the bottom line is they're saying you need to call your reps, and you do, okay? Then look at this next post. South Carolina may redistrict. This situation is so fluid. The main thing you need to understand, pressure needs to be kept up. Your pressure is working. Call the state senators now. 6 legislative days remain, making it impossible to redistrict before the end of the session. He's saying a special session must be held. Only 2 ways to do that. The governor calls it, or the legislature passes that. Okay, again, Shane Macy opposes it. Here's his number. Take a screenshot of this. 803-212-6330. Give him a call. Put the pressure on, especially if you are in South Carolina. Feel free to send emails as well. Then the next post by Adam Morgan, and this is where he delivers some straight fire. Hey, South Carolina Senate, if you refuse to redistrict, I hope Trump gives you the full Indiana treatment. We are long overdue for a good swamp training. All these states are. And folks, look at this. Carolyn Wren, this is hilarious. Live look at South Carolina Senate Majority Leader Shane Macy watching the Indiana primary results. Again, all these hacks understand is their lust for power and our ability to boot them. And you got to make it too big to rig, because South Carolina is proving itself to be absolutely one of the most corrupt states when it comes to the GOP of any state in the entire nation, folks. The South Carolina primaries are on June 9th. The only thing these hacks fear is people making these primaries too big to read. This is about funding fighters like Adam Morgan and others in South Carolina, not the Rhino machine. Okay, make these calls today.
For months now, we've been told that Trump's popularity is dying. The MAGA movement is over. We were told that the Trump coalition, the very coalition that gave Trump the biggest landslide win for Republican in over a generation, was dead, gone, buried, with no chance of coming back. That's certainly what 8 Republican Indiana state senators thought when they decided to betray President Trump and the MAGA movement several months back by voting with Democrats to keep Democrat districts in their state. Trump was furious, and he promised retribution. Yesterday was the day of Trump's wrath, and the results are absolutely terrifying every single milquetoast Republican politician in the nation. Stick with me to the very end of this video, because we're going to see what this Indiana election means for the entire Republican Party and for the future of Congress itself. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to celebrate yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, you know, I have kids too. I understand the weight of raising a family in a world that feels so hostile to everything we believe. That's why the Patriot Alert newsletter exists. So you're never uninformed, never blindsided, never without hope. Scan the QR code to join for free. All right, gang. So yeah, you did it again. You, the MAGA patriots, particularly in the great state of Indiana, you did it again. You proved the experts, the so-called experts, wrong. What happened yesterday was not supposed to happen. I absolutely.
No problem, Steve, man. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, man. I go live tomorrow in the morning as well. Thank you.
Assure you that what happened yesterday was the last possible outcome that these 8 rhinos, right? Republicans in name only. These 8 rhino state senators who backstabbed President Trump and betrayed their own voters mere months ago. What happened yesterday was the last possible outcome they could have ever imagined in their worst nightmares. Their political advisors, their pathetic, overpaid, establishment-endorsed political advisors assured them that if they betrayed Trump,
That's my other
there
channel.
would be 0 political repercussions. The Democrats are going to win control of the House. It's inevitable. Maybe they'll even win the Senate. Trump will officially be a lame duck.
Thank
and
you.
You'll still have your Indiana Senate seat long after he's gone. That is what they thought would happen yesterday. But you, the patriots of America, you, the tip of the spear of the MAGA movement, you had other plans for these feckless, betraying rhinos. You made your voice heard yesterday, and now every single Republican politician just heard what you had to say loud and clear. So let's set the stage here, shall we? Back in December of 2025, President Trump pushed hard for Indiana Republicans to join the redistricting fight together with states like Texas, Missouri, and North Carolina to redraw the state's congressional map in a way that would have created 2 additional Republican-leaning seats in the House of Representatives. 2 seats in a chamber where the GOP majority is currently hanging by a thread. So this wasn't a vanity project. This was a strategic imperative. Trump recognizes that the key to maintaining perpetual power in Congress involves getting rid of all of these Democrat seats in deep red states. Obliterate those seats and we'll control Congress for the foreseeable future. It's a pure numbers game, and red states got the numbers. It all seems simple enough. And so when the new map came up for a vote in the Republican-dominated Indiana Senate, what did 21 Republican state senators do? They voted with the Democrats to kill the redistricting map that would have helped us maintain a perpetual majority of 218 plus in Congress. I want you to get that. 21 Republican state senators voted with the Democrats. The vote was 31-19 to reject the redistricting map that would have helped maintain a perpetual Republican-dominated Congress for the foreseeable future. Why did they do it? One man, this guy, Mike Pence, the single biggest disappointment in modern American politics. These Indiana state senators decided that they would side with their one-time governor, and they would side with the Mike Pence wing of the party, the neocon rhino wing that hates MAGA, that hates populists.
That's crazy. Subscribe, everybody. Let's get to 2,000 subs.
Trump stole the party
Subscribe.
And of course, they hate JD, and most especially, they hate you. Needless to say, after these Republicans joined with the Democrats to defeat the redistricting map, Trump did not take the news of that very well. He went on Truth Social, and he made it very clear. He warned, it was ominous to these senators, I'm coming for you. Just like he did with Liz Cheney, just like he did with Adam Klein Kinzinger, just like he did with MTG, just like he's doing right now with Massey. Cross me, and I will come for your seats. And yesterday, May 5th, was the day of reckoning for 8 of these senators who were up for re-election in their primaries. And it was an absolute bloodbath.
Bloodbath, baby.
When Indiana
Red
primary
rage.
voters showed up to the polls, they delivered what one commentator called a flat-out wipeout. Travis Holdman, one of the most vile of these anti-Trump rhinos from District 19, gone. Jim Buck, District 21, gone. Greg Walker, District 41, gone. Linda Rogers, District 11, gone. Dan Durnall, District 1, gone. And many of them were defeated by massive margins. Or in fact, in that District 11 race, the Trump-endorsed challenger beat him with 73.
Zach, how am I a hypocrite, Zach? How am I a hypocrite? Because I believe in the redistricting needs to be done. If you're going to vote the right way. Don't vote because you want to get all the black votes. And that's bogus as hell, because half the time, black people don't even vote. So Democratic Party is going to win regardless because of the districting. Because it's guaranteed that black people are going to vote for that. No, that's not right. Not right at all.
70% of the vote. 73%. These are Liz Cheney margins. As the smoke cleared, 6
What I said
of the
last
8
month. What you
turncoat
talk?
Republican
What?
senators were defeated soundly.
Last month.
One is going through a recount because it's that close. It's literally within a few votes. And one seems to have squeaked by. It was an absolutely astonishing display of political power that has reverberations go way beyond Indiana. And that is what we're going to find out next. I know you keep telling yourself at some point in the future you're going to buy and store away a few dozen gallons of water just in case an emergency hits your family and the water shuts off.
He calls the shots in the Republican Party, and if you go against that, he will pour his wrath out upon you, and it doesn't typically turn out well. As Harry Enton has said before, go against Trump in a primary and you wind up in the grinder. And that's what happened in Indiana. To me, what I was looking for tonight was the forward-looking lessons here. For instance, what's going to happen in Kentucky in a couple of weeks in that 4th congressional district where Thomas Massie is the one congressional Republican who has been the biggest thorn in Donald Trump's side. They have poured millions into that race, and a lot of people are wondering, could he withstand a challenge from a Trump-backed challenger there?
You got it all wrong, Zach.
Indiana tonight, and you're Thomas Massie tonight, or you're anybody else in a primary right now where Trump's on the other side of you, you got to be thinking, this is a bad night for me. But bottom line is, there's always plenty of money in politics, and it's always the president's priorities and prerogatives that call the shots in his or her political party, and here we are.
That's the one and only Scott Jennings. He says it perfectly. Trump is the boss of the party.
Right.
That's absolutely key. This is why Thomas Massie has to go. He needs to get fired for his incessant and constant and never-ending attempts at thwarting the boss's agenda. This is why MTG had to go. This is why, frankly, Tucker has to go. In fact, I wouldn't even say Trump is boss. I'd say he's the general. He's the commander-in-chief. We're in a very real political war. We're fighting against a rabid left-wing lunatic party that did everything they could to put Trump behind bars for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, I think those 8 rhino neocons in Indiana agreed with that. They wanted Trump gone. That's why they voted with the Democrats. When we have opportunities to take the Democrats out through redistricting, and Trump gives the order and says, go do it, take them out, you, lowly little state senator, you don't get to second guess the commanding general. And virtually every one of these pathetic, weak, compromised, backstabbing rhinos in Indiana learned that lesson the hard way last night. Now, make no mistake. What happened yesterday was absolutely key to getting virtually all red states to redistrict before 2026. Right now, according to Crystal Ball's forecasting, the Republicans have a solid 211 seats, while the Democrats are down to 209. Now, that includes, as I understand it, that includes Florida's new +4 seat map that DeSantis just signed into law, but it does not include the +4 Democrat seats in Virginia because that's currently being blocked by the court. So at this point, the Republicans just need 7 more seats, and they've got a solid 218 safe red seats going into the midterms. And we're about to get 2 from Louisiana's court-mandated redistricting, 1 or 2 possibly from Mississippi, I believe, 1 from Alabama. If we had those 2 seats from Indiana, we'd already be more or less at 218. Now, fortunately, South Carolina looks like they're going to redistrict. Tennessee is going to give us another seat, and possibly even Georgia. We can get another couple of seats from there. And again, the point is that at the end of the day, we try to get as close to 218 as possible, if not surpass it. And then we just pour hundreds of millions of dollars. Right now, we have 8-1. It's an 8-1 discrepancy in terms of fundraising against the Democrats. We just pour hundreds of millions of dollars into a handful of competitive swing states, and we got this. And yesterday made it absolutely undeniably clear that that is precisely what Republican voters want. We want to win this war that Hakeem Jeffries has pronounced as declared against us. One final note here. I just want you to appreciate how historic this is. We have never, and I literally mean never in modern American political history, seen a second-term president exercise this level of raw political power over his own party's primaries. Never. If you think about the historical pattern here, second-term presidents are supposed to fade. They're supposed to become lame ducks. Congress starts to ignore them. Their party starts looking past them to the next cycle. Their endorsements carry diminishing returns. That's the established textbook playbook of second-term presidential politics going all the way back to Eisenhower. And I would argue it was precisely the playbook that these now unemployed Indiana
against President Trump, and they weren't going. Phenomenal night in Indiana. And let me tell you something. If this is indicative of what we are about to see heading into the midterms, I'm extremely proud because those Mike Pence style rhino Republicans in Indiana did everything that they could to side with the Democrats against redistricting in Indiana. Because right now in Indiana, the districts are 7-2. You got 7 Republican seats, 2 Democrat seats. And with the redistricting onslaught that we see the Democrats doing, whether it be in California, where they got the super Democrat delegate, or in Virginia, where they were changing their maps from the 6-5, where it's 6 Democrats to 5 Republicans, to where they're trying to go to a 10-1, where it's 10 Democrats, 1 Republican. And so Indiana had the option to be able to redistrict their maps. And what do you know? The rhinos, the Mike Pence supporting rhinos, they said they were standing up against President Trump and they weren't going for it. And so they decided to side against Trump with the Democrats. So in this video, we're going to go through the shellacking that happened because, y'all, it wasn't even close. And for any other rhinos out there, I guarantee you, they watch this and they're panicking. All of those that voted against the president, all of those that's siding against him, when he decides he's going to primary you, they must forget President Trump has like a 95% win rate when he backs a Republican candidate. Now, you're going to see this bloodbath because Mike Pence, he had his paws all over this thing. Because remember, he showed us his true rhino skin when he had the option to not certify the elections, knowing that there was shady things that took place in Georgia, in Michigan. And it's not even alleged anymore. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that these things were happening. And then what do we see? After Mike Pence decides that he was going to certify the election, he gets handed gold shillings by a Democrat senator on the floor. And I'm not speculating on this. It happened, and Mike Pence even put his hand out wondering, hey, what's this? You can see the gold shillings that he gets. But let's go through this video. So as you see right here, Trump exacts revenge in Indiana over redistricting vote with 5 GOP legislators defeated by MAGA. These were 5, it is higher than that now, it's 6 out of 7. These 6 GOP members, they were rhinos, got blew out by MAGA. So how did we get here? What I want to do is I want you to check out this video, and this shows you what happened in Indiana, and then we're going to follow it up with what happened last night in Indiana. So check this one out.
Senators voting against President Donald Trump and his request to redraw congressional maps.
Thank you.
The Senate voted 31-19 against the maps, and WHAS 11 News was there. More than half of the Republican delegation voted no. WHAS 11's Travis Breeze and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton pick up our coverage of the historic vote in Indianapolis.
19 ayes, 31 noes. This bill has been defeated.
A no vote after 3 hours of debate on Thursday. Republicans in favor of the maps saying they can impact what happens in D.C.
The morning after the election in November, and find out we lost the House of Representatives by 1 vote. If I knew that I did that, I would feel horrible.
Democrats say the only motivation is from outside Indiana, and the maps would challenge the sanctity of elections.
Instead of merit, we are saying that we are prioritizing a letter next to a name on a ballot with predetermined election results predicated on party affiliation.
Is it me, or do a lot of these Democrat male politicians just seem so soft? And then look at these folks that are out here at the no crowd, right? Look at them. These are seniors. A lot of these people, y'all, are paid protesters. Hands off, no bid districting. Now, why would they be against it unless they're raging liberals? because the Republican voters spoke. But let me let this go and play out.
With protesters chanting outside, many Republicans also spoke against the plan.
This map, drawn primarily by somebody not from here, gerrymanders so aggressively that it splits precincts across the state.
Ultimately, more Republicans voted against it than for it, and the measure failed. I asked Senator Young a question in the hallway after the vote. Is this going to lead to any divisions within the party?
I don't know. Who are you with?
WHS 11 in Louisville and Southern Indiana.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I don't know. The other side won. We don't tend to be too upset about it. So, our side.
Do you think that this chamber and the leadership of this chamber did all that it could to try to get this passed?
No, they did all they could to kill it.
He said they did everything they could to kill it. Do you have any response to that?
I do. You know, typically my style is to let people vote like they
What up, Paul?
come with the yes or come with the no, which is exactly what I did this time.
Bray says he is prepared for some backlash from Washington, D.C., but hopes it is minimal. He feels his chamber dealt with this issue by the rules and with integrity. Republican Governor Mike Braun said after this vote that it has consequences, and he will work with President Trump to challenge those Republicans who voted against this map. That will assumedly mean primarying them up against candidates who more staunchly support the president. In Indianapolis with senior photo.
So that's where it all started at, right? Now, let's listen to the president and what he had to say right after that. Then I'm going to show you the shellackings that took place because of it. Check out the president.
It's funny because I won Indiana all 3 times by a landslide. And I wasn't working on it very hard. It would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. You had one gentleman, the head of the Senate, I guess, Bray, whatever his name is. I heard he was against it. He probably loses next primary, whatever that is. I hope he does, but because he's done a tremendous service. But think of it. It's a great place. I love the people there. They love me. We won in a landslide all 3 times.
Right. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you. Let's get to 2,000 subs. Why not?
Democrats do it to us, so I can't imagine that they do it. But I wasn't very much involved. But this man named Bray is I guess, head of the Senate. Was that Bray? Is that the name, Bray? I mean, I'm sure that whenever his primary is, it's, I think, in 2 years. But I'm sure he'll go down. I'll certainly support anybody that wants to go against him.
And we're going to get back to talking about these MAGA wins. But if you're enjoying this video, do me a solid. Would you hit that like button? Because I'll never ask you for a cash out, a super chat, or a donation. But you hit that like button, it really does help. It lets YouTube know they should push the video out there for other people to be able to see it. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe.
Hey, Colt, really? MAGA is too big to be a cult, man. 75 million people voted for him. That's not a cult.
And when you subscribe, make sure that you hit the notification bell and you select all. That way, YouTube will make sure that you get notified when I upload new videos.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, man, we getting there. Let's get it.
End of the video to hit that like
2,000 subs. Let's get it.
Free. But if you're enjoying it, please hit that like button. Other than that, let me get back to celebrating these MAGA wins.
MAGA wins.
The president there, right? Now, let's get off into it, okay? So let's go through CNN, who decided that they were going to cover this. Check this out right here. Because you saw what happened. They wanted to stand up, and they were going to be strong. Now they're out of work.
More breaking news, a major test tonight of President Trump's grip on the Republican Party. We have new results coming in from Indiana, where the president is flat out seeking revenge on 7 Republican state senators who defied him and helped defeat his redistricting.
I guess we all are cult then. You guys are Democratic cult, we Republican cult. Come on, really? We're not a cult, man. It's called common sense. That's what we're about. Common sense party.
Effort there last year.
We know what a woman is.
Jeff Zeleny for the latest on what you are hearing and where things stand right now.
Well, John, President Trump has been seeking revenge, and tonight he is getting it. He has had a successful effort in at least 3 of the Indiana State Senate primary races, and one of the Trump challengers has failed. So right now the school.
Well, everybody on the far left for the Democrat Party has killed our people, took our people out, go to a school shooting, a church shooting, disrupting the church service because of ICE. You guys are corrupt, man. Very disrespectful.
Scorecard that the White House is watching very carefully is 3-1, and the Trump.
I'm not paid by nobody, man. I'm barely making any money on YouTube. I have a real job. I get 4 days off and I work the weekend shift. So I'm getting paid by YouTube because it's called advertisements, and that's like what, 15 cents a view, whatever. So stop the bullshit, man.
Trump-backed candidates is leading.
Like and subscribe.
What are we talking about here? Why are we talking about the Indiana State Senate? Because the senators, the Republicans who have served for nearly 20 years, each one of them who lost, voted against the president's redistricting plan last December.
Now look at this score. It's not even close. The incumbent, Travis Holman, Blake Fetcher, who was endorsed by the president, not even close. MAGA showed up and showed out. And, usually in these special elections,
thank you guys.
Republicans don't have a high propensity for getting out and
Let's
voting.
do it.
But it seems
Why
like
not?
the Democrats have gone so far that MAGA, not just Republicans, MAGA is showing up and showing out. I'm talking about this is a special election, which Democrats usually dominate because they're usually pissed off and they got their people riled up, hating something or trying to fight something. And Republican voters typically say, well, I voted for the president and, did my part. And the next time the presidential election comes up and whoever's up for Senate or state Senate at that time, yeah, but the in-between elections, the midterms, and the special elections are not typically high turnouts for Republicans. But now, not just Republicans turning out, MAGA, and they were blowouts, y'all. But I'll let them finish.
They said that they did not believe it was appropriate to redraw those maps. The White House has said, we are going to throw you out of office, and that is what
Right, Christopher, man. Glad you're in the chat. Christopher, thanks for joining in the chat. Like and subscribe.
Another one. Blowout.
Name is Deunta.
Greg Walker incumbent. Michelle Davis. Trump backed. Blowout.
Right. Thank you, guys. We're growing.
The White House is winning this revenge war, if you will, tonight. Only one non-Trump backed a challenger, Senator Greg Good, is holding on. His race was a bit peculiar. He was running against two people named Wilson, but he is holding on. So for the White House tonight, one bit of good news in this challenging midterm election year, John.
On the heels of all of the stuff that's taking place in the country right now, seniors, it's extremely important that you make sure you've got the best Medicare plan available.
Same here. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Amanda, hello. Yes. Let's continue.
There were other races that hadn't finished yet, but President Trump was 3 out of 4 so far right then. But check this out.
Huge political shakeup in the Hoosier state. 5 Indiana Republicans backed by President Trump have all defeated, dare I say, walloped GOP incumbents in primary races overnight. We're going to take a closer look at the power of the presidential endorsement.
To begin with brand new results for several big primaries overnight, and Madeline Rivera has that for us this morning. Hi, Maddie. Good morning, Carly and Todd. The results in Indiana were a clear display of President Trump's influence over the GOP. The 5 Republican state Senate incumbents who lost to Trump-backed challengers overnight all opposed the president's push to redraw the state's congressional map. One incumbent survived. Another race has yet to be called. A Republican source says Team Trump operatives put in a lot of money into these races, heavily outraising the incumbents. Pro-Trump groups say it should put other GOP members who don't back the president's redistricting plan on notice.
All right, so you saw that. Now, let me show you this one last story that reported on it. Really, really good. Here we go. Check this out.
I know you're at the big board. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Gotti. I mean, you said it. I think the message is very clear from Indiana Republican voters tonight. They are on the president's side when it comes to this question of redistricting. Looking here at a race that is undecided here, this is one of those Republican state senators who voted against Trump on that redistricting plan. He actually does have a chance of surviving. You can see how close this one is with just a few votes left to be counted here. But what you also see, and you mentioned it earlier, right here. These are 5 districts where 5 Republican Senate incumbents in Indiana were all defeated tonight. And they weren't just defeated, they were defeated in landslides, all of them voting against the president in his wishes to have that congressional map redrawn in advance of 2026. You're talking about margins of between 20 and 30 points right there. There is one who survived down here in this district earlier. And like I said, and there's also, I should add, on our map here, you don't quite see it for some technical reasons. There was actually a bit unexpectedly in this district right here, another Republican incumbent who voted against that plan. Trump stayed out of the race for some reason, but it seems like the voters there understood it as a referendum on that redistricting because the incumbent Republican senator in this district is trailing right now, and there aren't many votes left to be counted there. So it still may be that at the end of the night, up to 7 Republican state senators in Indiana are taken out in this primary after voting against the president and his wish for redistricting.
So, as you saw here, yes, Mike Pence was all involved in the state elections. As you know, those folks were more Pence-type guys than they were MAGA people. But Trump got behind his folks, and as you see, that's why I said 6 out of 7 races, because the one that Trump didn't specifically endorse, MAGA, he still was a MAGA guy, went in, beat the incumbent. So there was 6 MAGA pickups, 6 out of 7. And the one with Deary was extremely close, but I believe he held on and got the victory. But as the incumbent, was challenged by the female legislator, and he almost lost. And he's been there forever. So it shows that these rhinos' time is up. And so if you're concerned about us going into the midterm, this is not a time for us to take our foot off the gas. That's why I'm putting this video out to let MAGA know now is the time to get revving. It's time to get going, because we got our brothers and sisters in different parts of the country that are doing their job and they're voting the rhinos out. So we got to do our part. We got to share the videos. We got to spread the word. We have to do everything we can to let people know this election, this midterm is not for play. If we don't, these folks are going to get back in office. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to vote to try to take away weapons. They're going to impeach our
Thank you
guy
guys.
for doing what? For putting
Like,
America
share, and
first.
subscribe. Thank you. Let's get to 2,000
thing
subs.
that he's done so far. We just can't have
2,000 subscribers. Let's
Indiana
get it.
showed up and showed out. Mike Pence is sitting somewhere having a drink saying, dang it, he got me again. Because everybody that goes against President Trump, that's how I know what he's doing is for good. Everybody that goes against him, not for real reasons, but goes against because they're signed with the demon rats or they were paid or something. Every single one of them has been catching it. And the voters see it. MAGA is waking up. We see it. We understand how serious this is. So I just wanted to bring this to you to let you know. Our team went in and they got the job done in Indiana. So we got to get the job done in your state. We definitely going to get the job done here in Florida. And are we going to keep on winning and keep winning and keep winning? And we're going to coast this into the midterms and make history as the 4th time that the party in power wins the midterm and keeps control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And I'm here for it. So if you stayed and you hung out and you watched up to this point,
Great to meet you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm back again. And as promised, I wanted to react to this video that I found because it explains perfectly something that I've been saying for a very, very long time. So I want to share it with you guys, and we're going to react to it. Take a look at this.
LBJ replaced black fatherhood in 2-parent homes with the welfare system. And the left is so invested in this as a strategy that they are legit saying it out loud.
Yes.
The decision today in Louisiana versus Calais completes the set because it effectively dismantles the last leg in the Voting Rights Act's protections, which was for redistricting. Whereas previously, the Voting Rights Act had said when a state draws districts in ways that have the effect of diluting the voting power of racial minorities, of effectively making it so racial minorities' votes count for less than white voters, and that they can never elect the candidates of their choice.
You mean the candidates of the Democrats' party's choice.
Right.
See, Democrats need majority black districts because they can't win without it. Why? Look, Democrats have swindled probably trillions of dollars since LBJ and given it specific.
Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Name is Deunta. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Let's get to 2,000 subs. Why not? 111 people in the chat. Let's get it.
Specifically to black people in America. Massive welfare benefits to buy votes. Destroyed the black family structure to an extent that the black and out-of-wedlock birth rate went from 22% pre-LBJ, pre-civil rights, to 70% today. Look, I realize this is uncomfortable for some people. We're probably going to get a write-up from some liberal rag. But go look up LBJ and the quotes of how he thought about controlling the black. But you can't even put that stuff on TV, folks. But the product of all those policies that, as you can see here,
All right. We getting there.
show that a fatherless household leads to higher crime in children, specifically gun homicides. And in the same districts that ironically Democrats want to redistrict into their caucus as they campaign against the criminal justice system, like we saw with nearly every single Democrat kneeling to the Black Lives Matter movement and opposing police, defund the police movement, remember that?
Right.
It resulted in the black population having higher crime stats that lined up with the Democrat congressional district that was just overturned. Democrats are literally engineering the destruction of the black community and campaigning on themselves as the only solution to make themselves more dependent on the very system that's victimizing them.
Did you hear that? Y'all.
We're not a Muslim nation at all. How about that?
Carl, call your girl. We need to talk. First of all, I want to highlight the bravery of Newsmax to say this out loud. If you don't do anything else, you need to share this video of Carl here and my commentary that will follow far and wide. He just explained to you that, I know y'all get upset and uncomfortable when I talk about slavery being a choice. He just demonstrated that slavery is still happening today, and it absolutely is a choice, because the same people, you see this map, how this map is drawn? The people who are subjugating you are the ones who look like you, and they're the ones in control of your districts. And the way they do it, it's no different than a master-slave relationship. Let me just give them a little something. You know, just like the slave on the plantation, they give you a little pork, a little salt pork here and there, a little of this, a little of that. Let you come and go visit another plantation, every now and again. Would even let you get married for the most part. But functioning in your freedom? Oh, no. Can't do that. Can't do that. You claim you care about Black lives, but you want to defund the police, knowing that these communities are the ones who need the police, not because of the white Republicans that are coming in there terrorizing the neighborhood, but because of Taquayshawn and them.
That's
right?
crazy, right?
He literally...
Subscribe, you guys. 129 people in the chat. 129 people in the chat. Subscribe.
Voting Rights Act, LBJ figured out how we can keep these ninjas voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Just give them a little political power. And what we'll do is we will create perpetual dependence.
Axel Foley.
We'll get the man.
Thanks for the sub. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Right? The core and the bedrock of what the Black community used to be, led by men. We'll put the women in charge. There goes your matriarchal squalor. Completely decimate the family. So now there's no structure. There's no order. There's no male headship, no male influence. The children are unruly because women can't control them. And now the women don't even want a pair bond and be with a man. And so the fatherless rate goes up, which causes literacy rates to be impacted and the crime rate to spike. Look at that. It was a recipe to secure the Democrat vote for decades. And it worked. Carl, you the man. Thank you so much for being brave enough to say this out loud. Let's finish watching.
This is horrifically racist strategy, but it's electorally effective for the Democrats.
Yeah.
But it's made the Black community heavily dependent on the government.
This is why the Black community, even though America is a capitalist nation and it has thrived and flourished off of capitalism, this is why you see in the Black community, it is a sub-microcosm. We have a Marxist, communist, socialistic enclave within America, and it's called the Black community because we are a community. They are government dependents. Even there are individuals within the Black middle class that believe that it's not that I don't believe that healthcare is not a right. Healthcare is absolutely a right. You have a right to have healthcare, and you have a right
to
pay for it. What you don't have a right is to make me pay for your healthcare. I'm not subsidizing your healthcare, just like I don't want to subsidize your high-calorie menu choices. I don't want to subsidize another person's destruction. Healthcare is a right.
And I have a right to provide the health care that I want for myself. But the government doesn't have a right to demand that I use my money to subsidize health care for someone else. Within the Black community, we believe that health care is a right that government is supposed to provide for. We believe that government is supposed to feed us. Government is supposed to house us. Government is supposed to help us raise our children in the form of free child care. We believe we've become so dependent. The concept of working to provide for one's own household it's almost a personal attack. And we take personal offense to it because we've had so many generations of not just bastards raising bastards, but our work ethic has been diminished to where we're like, I mean, we can work, but like for everything? Well, what is the government going to do? That's how slaves think. Slaves look to the master to provide them with clothing, a roof over their head, food in their belly, and to keep them busy and occupied, whether that's with a vice or a little break time from picking cotton. We in a socialistic nation have become Black Americans in a capitalistic nation have become a socialistic enclave because of LBJ's policies, and we can lay the claim at the feet of LBJ all day long, but he didn't do it without the civil rights community's help. It was Martin Luther King who got us in the mindset of government dependence and not economic independence and entrepreneurship and capitalism. No. He's the one that was like, when we get our check, we've come to get our check. The whole Poor People's Campaign was an appeal to the U.S. government to provide to provide health care, jobs, food, and minimum basic income. Essentially, it's the manifesto of the Democratic Socialists of America, i.e. the communists. So we can be mad at LBJ, fine, but he didn't do it without the cooperation or the participation of the Black intelligentsia and the Black civil rights movement and the Black faith community, i.e. the pulpit pimp preachers. So all of them are at fault. They're all at fault. There are no victims here. And then the Black community, where we were presented with alternatives. Like, you can vote for whoever you want, but who do they vote for? They vote for the melanated Marxists. And you don't want me to believe that slavery is not a choice. You're still choosing it now. You choose it every election cycle. Every time you go in there and you like, are they Black? Well, if they're Black and Democrat, then I'm going to vote for them. It don't matter that the outcomes are trash and they've done nothing to allow me to function in my own freedom. But people would rather the comforts of slavery than the unknown and untold possibility of personal responsibility and free agency.
The great psychiatrist Carl Jung said, "It is not what happens to me, it's what I choose to become."
I'm not trying to scare nobody, but we are in danger.
In slavery is a choice. We ask the question, do you choose to be free or do you choose to be a slave?
So you feel like a victim? I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white people.
A grown man's mind, he a fucking victim. That's the problem right there, man. I'm not a victim that will be a victim. Fuck the Democrat Party temptation. Fuck that party. That's a party of psychos, mental illness. Don't know who the fuck they are, where they going. I'm glad you guys in this chat because everybody is welcome. But this chat is definitely a common sense chat. Everybody is welcome. But if you're a bot, you get out of here. But you guys see what I'm putting up here. This is common sense stuff. I don't understand how you guys that keep on trying to convince us in the chat to vote Democrat. No, we're not going to vote Democrat. So stop it. I'm glad you guys in this chat, but calling us maggots and all those other crazy ass names just proves the fact that we very intelligent and we very know what's going on, which is for common sense. Get off that plantation, y'all. It's a party of KKK, slavery, hatred. They want to stay in power. And look, somebody will call me a bootlicker. That's who's on the plantation. Anybody that calls me a bootlicker, a coon, a house nigga, you guys are the ones on the plantation. Because I'm a free thinker It's an issue with you guys. That's crazy as hell, because I don't think like you think it's a problem. Your side want to kill the president. We voted for him. 75 million people voted for the president, and you guys want to kill him. Come on, you guys. Come on, Zach. Stop the BS, man. Your party is dangerous. And I'm praying for you guys every day. Like and subscribe. Let's continue.
And so are they holding you back financially? Well, they can.
Most black people sit at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America because we still deal with the same slave mentality that says, I had no choice.
Those of us that now insist that we're no longer being oppressed and that it's ourselves that are now our worst enemies are in fact gullible, naive, and are ignorant of the true reality.
If you walk around saying that you're oppressed, you're not a man. And you're not an American. When you say you're oppressed, I'm telling you, you're an heir of Jesus Christ, you're a child of God. Nobody can oppress you.
Our religious heritage is rooted in the regrettable experience of slavery. And I'm scared.
He's scared. Get the fuck out of here.
When you talk about the vestiges of slavery, that is the vestige of it.
Ricky Smiley, somebody he's scared. Stay out them damn dresses, Ricky. Stay out them dresses, man. He's scared. No wonder you scared. You a beta.
A mentality that says I cannot change my plight. I cannot change my life. I have no choice. The man who says he's free, the man that says he's a slave, are both correct. Slavery is a choice.
Let's let him finish.
And oppose Republican policies to enforce law and order to such an extent that it has brought over 80% voting loyalty by the black community to Democrats.
Yep.
By essentially...
I've been insulted since I started this chat. So if I insulted somebody, oh well, be offended. You guys insult me all day. It's all good. I can handle it. Let's continue.
Financially and socially enslaving black people to the Democrat Party once again.
He proved my point. Slavery's choice. And we are watching modern day slavery today. The Democrats are the plantation. They're the pioneers of the plantation. They've always been the overseers. They've always been the masters. And it still exists today. It has been socially engineered this way. Carl, you are a genius. And he didn't figure this out on his own. We've been saying this. Me and my colleagues. We've been saying this. I've been saying this since I've been out here on the internet. And now what we've been saying is now mainstream. Keep them dependent and they'll keep coming back, begging, whining, and crying for a little more. And this Louisiana map breaks all of that up, and it's going to be hard to challenge. Florida's going to do the same thing. He's going to break it all up, and it's going to be hard to challenge because it ain't based on race.
Thank you.
Georgia,
we
right behind you. Let's get it done. I'm here for it. This is a great day. It's a great day to be a black conservative. Absolutely it is.
But here's the real reason Democrats are big bad. They don't give a damn about black people's representation, as I've clearly pointed out. They care about winning seats. That's all.
Yes.
And
Democrats.
racial gerrymandering was one of their last mechanisms to do it. So two things happen now. One, watch how fast Democrats abandon their black allies in these states because they're no longer of value to them.
They don't need them. This
is the fallout from today's decision. Look at this. Unbelievable. This is going to be a 24-seat swing. 12 that the Democrats were going to lose that Republicans will now pick up. Now, if you add Texas and Missouri in this new district map that Florida just passed today, by the way.
Patrick, what's up? It's been a while. How you been, Patrick?
It could come up as high as 19. That means a 38-point swing because of this ruling.
We're growing, you guys. Almost at 2,000 subs. We're growing.
The governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, is now actively, quote, analyzing
118 people in the chat. Let's get to 2,000 subs. Why not? Thank you guys for stopping by.
Redistricting Georgia as of 2 hours ago.
You combine all this with the next census that will not include illegals, blue states could lose as many as 40 to 50 total seats over the next 4 years.
Went to the Derby.
Which makes a Democrat-controlled House nearly impossible for the foreseeable future, which is great because the Republicans in Congress aren't exactly exciting turnout right now because they're not really doing a lot or anything.
Let me tell you something. Did y'all see that red wave? We didn't have to cheat to do it. All we had to do was get rid of the racism. All we had to do was get rid of the racism, take away the Democrat Party's crutch, which is its black constituents. Without the blacks, they can't win. And if you are a black American and you are a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, what were you getting for it anyway? Nothing but more subjugation and more oppression and more government dependence. They've made you a modern-day slave without the chains and ideologically slaved your mind so much so that you can't even think and imagine that you can do anything for yourself apart from the government's help. Their plan worked, but we have taken some wind out of their sails, and the South absolutely is going to now actually reflect what the will of the people there represents. Atlanta, even though it's a blue stronghold, in order for Georgia, because it's kind of purple now, this needed to happen. Florida, absolutely. Louisiana, absolutely. Get rid of the racial gerrymandering. That is only one of many ways. Notice how the freedom, this freedom that, or I'll say the opportunity of freedom that has come for the blacks was done without their knowledge, participation, or their permission. The blacks didn't even ask for this. You know why? They didn't even see it as a problem. They didn't even connect that the poor outcomes in their communities was because they keep voting for other black Democrats. They didn't even make the connection. And so just like in the Civil War, then the Union Army had to come down to protect and free the blacks from white subjugation and oppression. The same thing is happening now where the Supreme Court had to say, hey, all this racial stuff is wrong. We're going to take these training wheels off. You can compete, go in the world and function in your freedom. And the blacks are crashing out. What? What you mean? No, what you mean we got to go function in our freedom? We don't know nothing about no freedom. All I know, I was just a slave. I don't know nothing else. Well, it's time to learn. It's time to learn. Just like a parent, you got a toddler that just refuses to walk, and you go walk today. We about to put them hard white baby shoes on, and we about to drag you around this place until your legs get strengthened enough and you start walking on your own. And this is what makes Democrats angry, because they're losing their power. They are losing their grip on power. They ain't gonna know what to do. Oh, no, they ain't gonna know what to do. Now we're gonna see where the money's really been going. All the money that these congressmen go to DC and get back for their districts, but you like, well, why it still look like a war zone? Why does it still look like nothing? Why? It's because they ain't doing nothing with it.
Amazing.
They are.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
But they're not doing anything to improve the districts that they serve. So anyway, I'm curious to know, what do you think about Carl's commentary over there on Newsmax? You should write to them and thank them for that segment. Do you agree with his assessment that
it's not simply what the court did? The real issue is whether black political power has become too dependent on one political structure. Because if your influence depends on how one party draws a map, your power is not independent. It's conditional.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine.
Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to another edition of the Publisher's Desk. And today we're dealing with a serious issue. The Supreme Court has ruled on the congressional districts, and everybody, even the Congressional Black Caucus, has come out strong, calling it.
Hey, this whole new war stuff, y'all keep on saying in the chat. Since the 80s, Trump been talking about Iran. not having nuclear power or not being in power since the 80s. That's over 40 years, you guys. Stop it.
An attack on black voters and a threat to democracy. Now, I watched the full statement of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I've watched what other people have said, and I understand their position. They argue that this ruling opens the door to weakening black representation, makes it easier for states to redraw districts in ways that reduce black influence and makes it harder to challenge discrimination in court. That is their argument, and it deserves to be heard. But let's deal with the facts, brothers and sisters, and not the feelings and emotions around this issue. The Supreme Court did not take away anyone's right to vote. Let's make that clear. Black voters still can vote. Both parties are still on the ballot. Elections are still intact. So this is not about access to voting. This is about how districts are drawn. And even within the Congressional Black Caucus statements, there is an important admission. They point out that this ruling allows partisan gerrymandering while narrowing the ability to challenge discrimination. That matters because that means this is not just about race, it's also about politics. And it's about how parties draw maps to gain advantage over each other. The Democrats do it and the Republicans do it. Let's not get it twisted. And that is where the conversation needs to be more honest. Because when you look at voting patterns in the country, black voters overwhelmingly support one party.
And that's fucked up.
Often in the race.
That's sad, man. For years they've been doing this, man. Black people, man, we gotta stop, man. Wake up. It's okay to vote Republican at least one time in your life.
To 80 to 90% of the vote. See, that is a political reality that black people have to face. So when district lines are challenged or redrawn, it is not just affecting race, it's affecting a political coalition. That is not controversial. That's arithmetic, brothers and sisters. And here's the part many people do not want to say out loud. It's not the court's responsibility to fix the political behavior of any group, and especially black folks. See, if black people concentrate its power in one party, that is a strategic decision, no matter what the reason is. You might say the Republican Party is racist. You might say you don't like Donald Trump. But that is a strategy that black people have chosen to do. They have chosen to stay with the Democratic Party. And the fact of the matter is, they're trying to look like the Democratic Party is the black party. And let me tell you something. Every strategy comes with consequences, Black America. Now let's bring it closer to home. See, because we do not have to guess how this works. We have already seen it in New York. In New York, when districts were redrawn affecting Jamal Bowman and Mondir Jones, the first elected black man in District 16 and the first elected black man in District 17, the percentage of black voters in those districts was reduced and more white voters were put in their districts. Now think about this. It happened in a Democratic-controlled state. So let's ask the same question. Did they take away the black vote in New York, in District 16 and District 17? No. Black voters still voted. What changed was the influence of the black vote. And that proves something very important. This is not just about race. Because if it was, why didn't the head of the Congressional Black Caucus, who's from New York, why didn't she say anything to what happened to Congressman Jamal Bowman?
Subscribe. Thank you guys. We are growing, we're growing. I thank you guys so much.
Turned their districts around and they pulled black votes out of their district. She said nothing. The Congressional Black Caucus was silent. Hakeem Jeffries ain't even show his light skin behind in Westchester when it went down. So how are they having a press conference about what's happening in another state, but they don't say anything that happens in their own state when it comes to black votes or even black politicians who are moved out by their own party. See, this is about how both parties, when they have control, they draw maps to protect the political advantage. In New York, they changed the districts because they didn't see that Mondier Jones and Jamal Bowman was a political advantage. And if we're going to be honest, the Congressional Black Caucus even acknowledges the political nature of this fight when they talk about organizing, mobilizing, and competing in response to the ruling. So the real issue, brothers and sisters, is not simply what the court did. The real issue is whether black political power has become too dependent on one political structure. Because if your influence depends on how one party draws a map, your power is not independent. It's conditional. That's not victimhood. That's vulnerability.
Right.
And if we want...
Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't. Subscribe. There's 145 people in the chat. Subscribe. Why not? Name is Deunta. Let's grow.
To be honest, we have to say it. See, because too often in our politics, and especially in black politics, representation is confused with power. And they're not the same. Representation, brothers and sisters, is a seat. Power controls outcomes. And if we look around the black communities throughout the nation, what are the outcomes? Poor schools, high crime, high mental health, high chronic illnesses, poor conditions of cities, poor services. Those are the outcomes. So if representation alone produced power, then many heavily represented districts would be thriving across the board, but they're not. Every time you turn around, a young black man or woman is being killed. So we have to ask the hard questions. If strategy has been representation through one party alignment, where are the constant outcomes? Now, this is not negativity. This is not I'm being MAGA. This is not I'm a hater. This is accountability of our elected officials, of a political party that we give 90% of our vote to, and we only get 20% of the benefits. Policy should always be judged by outcome, brothers and sisters. This is where Black America has made the mistake since 1965. See, it brings me to the most important part of this conversation. What is the political solution? Because criticism without solutions means nothing. And the solution is this. Black America, your vote has to move from loyal voting to negotiated voting. Stop giving support to political parties automatically. Support should be tied with outcomes, just like the young brother said at the National Action Network. No check, no vote. 28. If you don't have our check, you won't get no vote. No check, no vote. That was a simple statement saying that the vote has to be tied to outcomes. And you don't ask questions because they just tell you to hate Trump. You don't ask, what are you doing for homeownership? What are you doing for economic development? What are you doing on education? What are you doing on public safety? What are you doing on health and food access? See, those are negotiations. Black people, we don't ask those questions because we deal in emotional politics. And that has led to our logical failure and our communities looking the way they do. Our votes express a preference, but leverage creates obligation. And there's a difference. Let me make this clear again, brothers and sisters. Black voters cannot function as a permanent property of one party. There has to be the ability to negotiate with both, or a third party, or another party, if you're not getting what you need to get from one party. I don't understand how we don't get it.
So black people were responsible for slavery. Yeah, that's a very you lost. This is what happens when liberals don't know history. Slavery had nothing to do with race. Is that what you're claiming?
Right. There were black people in this country who owned slaves. Black people that owned other black people as slaves. Slavery. Was that racism?
So black people were responsible for slavery. Yeah, that's a very intelligent.
No, it was the Arabs who went over to Africa and bought the black people from other black people in Africa. And the Arabs sold them across the country to Mexico, to the United States, and to other places.
Jesse,
so it wasn't what you're saying.
First of all, Jesse, Arabs are not black people. Just got to give you a heads up on that one.
But they're the one that stole the blacks.
Okay, you just said black people own slaves.
There were black people in America who owned slaves, Bernie.
This is what happens when
you don't put all your money in one account. If you have a financial advisor, what did he tell you to do? He tells you to diversify your money. Put them in different accounts. So why don't you do that with your vote? I'm not telling you to go to the Republican Party. You could go to the Independence Party. You could go to another political party. Don't let these Negroes tell you if you don't vote for the Democrats, the Republicans is going to win. That's a scare tactic. See, when politicians know they own your vote, brothers and sisters, they don't have to earn it. Huh? They don't have to earn it. They don't have to do nothing for you. That's why Kamala said she don't have to do anything specifically for black people.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people.
Damn.
That's what she said. Because she knows she don't have to earn your vote. She knows she's going to get your vote automatically. So she has no intention to do anything for black people. That's why competition creates leverage. And when you're dependent on one party, it reduces any leverage you have as a voter. Y'all Negroes gave away your vote since 1965. And let's make something clear. We have to stop confusing symbolism with substance. Power is not just electing more Negroes to go down to Washington, D.C. Power is building institutions like every other ethnic group does with their political leverage. We don't have independent media. We don't have economic alliances. We don't have real political funding of our politicians. We don't even have policy agendas on a national scale. We have no black agenda for Black America. See, these are things that government responds to, black people.
Right.
That's why those people with the little beanies on their head
Subscribe.
everything, because they have an agenda. That's why they can send $8 billion over to that country over there, and they won't talk about reparations for black people. Can't you see? See, that's durable power. And finally, brothers and sisters, we have to vote based on outcomes, not identity politics, not emotional politics, not party loyalty, outcomes. Who delivers for the black community, period? Who improves the conditions? Who produces results? See, that should be the standard, not just emotional childishness with our power that we have. And maybe the future of Black politics is not permanent alignment with one party. Maybe it's becoming a true swing constituency, a negotiating bloc, a group that neither party can take for granted. Because that's where the leverage lies, brothers and sisters. So maybe the real issue is not what the Supreme Court did, because it didn't take away your vote. Maybe the real issue is whether Black America has mistaken political loyalty for political power. See, that's the deeper conversation. And it's one we need to have honestly, not all this emotional stuff that's coming from grown men and grown women. You know, Reggie Lafayette, for those that are watching that are not from New York and not from Westchester County, the Westchester County Democratic chairman for many, many decades was a Black man named Reggie Lafayette. And many times we disagreed publicly, had public fights that were on the news, arguments that were on the news. But one thing he said to me, brothers and sisters, that has always stayed in the back of my head. God bless Reggie Lafayette. In politics, brothers and sisters, he told me, there's no permanent friend, there's no permanent enemy, but there is only permanent interest. What is Black America's permanent interest? What is Black America's permanent agenda? Every other ethnic group understands that, but Black folks in America. And that's the conversation we must start having. This is the publisher's desk. Policy over outcomes matter. Drop your thoughts in the comments, brothers and sisters. Is this about voting rights or is it about political power? It's time for us to have real conversations. Please like and share, because we're talking about saving Black America.
Right, like and share, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe.
Told stuff that they're talking about. We have the power, but we're allowing our leaders to paint us as victims instead of painting us as a strong Black voting bloc. So thanks again. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay Blacktastic. Peace out. Black Westchester's New Spring 2026 e-paper is...
Understand, you could say, Jerry Demings is a cop, but
Babel is strong here. Dems are talking about how Republicans want to erase us, but they're the ones trying to replace us with illegal immigrants. These people are full of crap. Interesting. Now, there's a reason why certain politicians keep talking the same way. I'll just say that. Because, you know, if they ever stop, the whole strategy falls apart. And what you're about to hear is exactly why people are starting to tune it out.
Thank you.
We're
going
to
litigate, legislate, agitate, organize, and mobilize for our full rights and citizenship. And we're going to force a vote, the Congressional Black Caucus. We will force a House vote on the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. These folks across the aisle, Rev, they quote John Lewis all the time. They quote Dr. King all the time. And they work actively to degrade their legacy and their work.
2 hours in. I appreciate you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. 2 hours and 7 minutes in. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Work by trying to erase Black history, to erase Black voters, to erase Black progress, to erase Black people. But you cannot erase us.
Oh my gosh. There it is. Same playbook.
God damn.
Something doesn't go their way, it immediately turns into race. It turns into oppression. And, you know, we're being terminated to some degree. No nuance, no accountability, just escalation. And here's the problem. When you say everything is an attack, people eventually stop believing anything is. That's not empowering people, man. That's keeping them locked in a one way of thinking.
I want y'all to understand, you could say, Jerry Demings is a cop, but he's a cop who cares about civil rights. The other one is Byron Donalds, who has decided to make himself the house pet of the Republican Party. party. Let white men pat him on the head in the United States House of Representatives. I want y'all to understand, you can say, Jerry Demings.
Well, now you watch how this plays out in real time. A black man disagrees politically, and suddenly he's getting called a outspec. It's okay. So we got insults on both sides, but let's stop pretending this is about protecting black voices. It's about policing them. Because if you don't vote the correct way, or if you're not on the right side of political history, as they would call it, you don't get debated. You just get disrespected.
Right. Thank you, guys.
And
Thank you.
man,
We're growing. Let's do it.
The racial turnout gap since Shelby versus Holder 2013 has gotten wider. The Supreme Court said in their decision that we don't need these things because that racial turnout gap has all but disappeared. It is a lie. It is a bald-faced lie. Yes, I won my race. I run statewide. Yes, we got black folk in high political office. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg was right when she said it's like removing your umbrella in the middle of a rainstorm because you're not getting wet. They removed that umbrella, and that racial turnout gap has gotten wider, and it's gotten wider twice as fast in states that used to have to pre-clear their changes. Same folk who used to discriminate are still discriminating while they're saying things have changed. Then on Wednesday, they said, well, I tell you what, we're going to play with the lines. They didn't learn from the earlier decision. They watched the racial voter turnout gap get larger, and then they came back on Wednesday and they said, we're going to allow partisan politicians to gerrymander you so that even when you show up, your voice won't have as much impact because we'll play with the lines. That isn't a new method. That's an old method. That's a Jim Crow method. That's 19th and 20th century methodologies in a 21st century world. Let me make it plain for you. That's Jim Crow in new clothes.
How you doing, John?
Now we are in church. And somehow it still feels like a press conference. Everything gets escalated to Jim Crow, no matter the situation.
Right, those trigger words, Jim Crow, chains, going back. Trigger words for black people to get all you emotional. So these damn liberals and betas, it's crazy, man. Grow a spine, do some research.
And look, I'm not saying history doesn't matter. I'm saying when you use the same label for everything, you start blurring the line between serious issues and convenient talking points. And at some point, people stop reacting and start side-eyeing that thing. It's just ignorance up here. But when people start side-eyeing long enough, how do I say? That kind of energy, well, this is the kind of energy that comes back.
The Democratic Party is a violent institution that permeates violence. And no one wants to talk about how this group of, perverts and psychopaths are destroying this nation. All of these mass murders around here in the United States of America right now being done by basically Democrats. Some weirdo that believes that because he's not being treated the way he wants to be treated by the government or whomever, he's going to kill everybody. Whether they are trans, whether they are just a bunch of weirdos. Every time there's a mass murder, use this a Democrat. Every time somebody trying to kill the president, use this Democrat. Every time there's murder in the inner city somewhere, it's usually a Democrat. And why is this? It's the party that's rejected Jesus Christ. Now, you'll find every now and again something happening in a Republican area. I'm not saying that it's 100% them, but the vast majority, whether it be white or black or Hispanic, and a bunch of people with no morality, no virtue in crime, and they're usually Democrats. I know y'all gonna go into
bingo.
Go to my comment. You know what I'm talking about? It's just Republicans. We're talking about the averages, okay? 89% of all murders are done in the inner city, according to statistics. Democrats run the inner city.
Now this is the swing in the.
Where's the lie at? Debunk that what he just said, somebody. You can't. If you do, something wrong with you. That's crazy.
Opposite direction. Raw.
Like, share, and subscribe.
No attempt to clean it up. And whether you agree with all of it or not, you got to ask why this kind of message is gaining traction. Because obviously, man, it ain't coming from nowhere.
Right, facts. Stay being facts. You're right. Yep. Thanks for subscribing as well. Thanks for subscribing.
Talk down to it. Just flat out dismiss. You know, it's going to build up. When they do it, that's not going to be regurgitated politely. Meanwhile, while all this back and forth is happening out loud, this is what's moving quietly in the background.
Taking up, redrawing the maps in their states that could easily offset the number of seats that Democrats hope to pick up in Virginia. So we're looking at a situation where Democrats may not actually pick up the seats that they wanted to pick up in Virginia, and Republicans might end up picking a total of 5 if you include Alabama, Tennessee, and Louisiana. Obviously, in Louisiana, that was the court case that the Supreme Court ruled on, where they have no choice but to go back and actually change those maps, and they could be looking at changing those maps to down to just one Democrat district.
It's interesting how all
taking up, redrawing the maps in their states.
Well, this is where it stops being talk and starts being numbers. District shifting.
Right, the Democrat Party brought an abortion van to the Democratic convention. Why would you bring an abortion van or a Planned Parenthood van to to a Democrat Party convention? They want to kill the kids. They want to kill the babies, harvest the babies probably as well. Democrat Party is evil, man. There was no way that should have been outside the convention.
Peace changing, strategy playing out. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If you assume people are locked in with you, you stop working for them. Politics.
Trump is trash. Okay.
What do I say?
Welcome to the chat.
It doesn't
Welcome to the chat.
It rewards who's ever actually making moves. Which is exactly why this next point is harder than it actually should.
I wish for one election that every black person would vote Republican.
Wow.
What? How can you say that? I said it's simple. Since 1964, the black folks, we have been giving our vote to the Democratic Party at an exorbitant rate.
God is in control. God is in control.
And they don't have to cater to us as much as we need them to. The Republicans know they'll never get our vote.
Thank you.
So they don't give a damn about us. And as a result, we're the only community in America devoid of representation, which is why we're considered disenfranchised. I'm tired of that.
Common Sense Channel, Robert. Common Sense Channel. Welcome to the chat.
Community in a position where both parties have to work to get our vote.
Can I ask you this? Do you think you covering politics like you cover politics, in the words of your mans, is that good for business, your business?
It has the potential not to be. We'll have to see. So far it is. I think I'm doing pretty good. So far it is, but it has the potential not to be. But here's the point. Cam, if I thought like that, I'd never be here. There's plenty of decisions over the years I could have made that would have been good for business. But I had the courage to tackle the issues that I felt passionate enough to attack.
Thanks, Dave B. Right. You came to the right channel.
That's what makes me, me.
I know that's right. Now, listen to what he's really saying.
Such
Not
a cool.
forever.
Oh, wow.
Now pick a side and stay there. Just what happens if your vote actually has to be earned? That shouldn't sound revolutionary, but it does. Because one side got used to not having to prove anything. Once that expectation cracks, even a little, everything just gets shaky. So, what you just watched, it wasn't really about any one of those clips. It was about control of expectation. For a long time, the system didn't need to convince, black people or certain people. It just needed to remind them who they were supposed to be. Not who they are, who they're supposed to be. And once that's locked in, the conversation changes. You don't get policy, you get pressure. You don't get persuasion, you get positioning. You don't get respect. If anything, you get reminders. Stay here, think this, vote like that. And the wild part, it actually worked. It did. Not because, I don't think it was because people were weak. I think it's because nobody was really challenging the premise. But what you're seeing now is that premise getting questioned.
Thank
Not
you, Stevie.
perfectly,
Thank you.
obviously,
Appreciate
not
that.
cleanly. Sometimes it comes out messy, emotional, even contradictory. But it's happening. Because when people realize they've been spoken to like a guarantee instead of a choice, something in them shifts. I know in me, I would. I did. They start listening differently. They start asking different questions. They start noticing things that they used to let slide. And once that switch flips, man, you can't talk to them the same way anymore. They're not the same person. That's why the tone in those clips fell off. Not because the words changed, but because the audience did. And here's the part that really matters, right? When expectations loses its grip, everything has to adjust. Not just the people being questioned, but the people doing the questioning too, because now it's not about loyalty, it's about value, and value has to be shown, not assumed. So this isn't about one moment. This is about a shift in how people see themselves inside the system. Not as a block, not as a statistic, not as something that gets counted every few years, but it's something that actually has leverage. Guess what? When people start seeing themselves that way, the whole dynamic changes. Not overnight, but permanently. So, you made it to the end of this video. I want you to write, do not assume. Yeah.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. That helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, not even a month.
Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. 80 people in the chat. Let's get to 2,000 subs. Let's get it. Why not? 2,000 subs. 80 people in the chat. Now it's 92. Let's get it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Not even a full month after the last time we brought you a story about the Supreme Court justices getting into spats among themselves, y'all. We have a new spat. Of course, this has to do with the recent ruling that the Supreme Court handed down just last week about the Voting Rights Act. And essentially, the way that it's being billed is...
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're getting there. 2,000 subs. We're getting there. Thank you.
Draw congressional maps using race as a factor. I mean, that's just a layman's way of describing it. And now, your girl, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, you knew it was going to be her, y'all. She wrote in her dissent, she wrote a scathing dissent, y'all. And then Justice Alito had his retort against her. So these two are now into it. And as you're going to see later in the video, she's getting into it with everybody. In fact, all of these justices on one side, the conservatives, are getting into it with the other side, the more liberal-leaning justices. So first, let's take...
Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're getting there. I appreciate you guys, man. Deunta is my name.
A look at this ruling and your girl going back and forth with Alito.
For decades, the Democrats have been using racial discrimination to draw these crazily drawn lines to try to protect Democrats. And now those crazy jigsaw puzzle lines have been using to protect members of the Democrat caucus in Congress can no longer be used. And here's the practical effect of what's going to happen. Because we are going to eliminate using race to draw these congressional lines. It means that, especially in these southern states, we are going to add maybe a dozen more Republicans to the United States Congress. Texas is going to add 5 Republican seats. Florida's going to add 4 Republican seats. There'll be many more in other southern states. And we will finally make those districts look a whole lot more compact. It's time for the Democrats to stop being such hypocrites and finally have everybody across the country to stop using race as a reason to draw congressional lines.
As a dissent to this decision, y'all, which was 6 justices to 3, Newsweek reports that Justice Jackson wrote in her dissent that voters and a candidate who have already submitted their ballots, y'all. Now, this is talking about Louisiana, where they suspended the election, y'all, in order to redraw their maps. But the early voting has already started. So Jackson wrote that voters and a candidate who have already submitted their ballots filed suits against the governor and secretary of state, asserting that whatever might happen to Louisiana's congressional map in the future, this election is already underway and must continue pursuant to the current maps, which the Supreme Court just essentially ruled unconstitutional. She continues, the court unshackles itself from both constraints today and dives into the fray, and just like that, those principles give way to power. Because this abandon is unwarranted and unwise, respectfully, I dissent. Now, Brown Jackson is writing for the losing position, right? But Alito, he's writing for the winning position. And this is what Alito says, quote, the dissent goes on to claim that our decision represents an unprincipled use of power. This is a groundless and utterly irresponsible charge. What principle has the court violated? The principle that Rule 43.3's 32-day default period should never be shortened, even when there is good reason to do so? The principle that we should never take any action that might unjustifiably be criticized as partisan? This is where it really gets her. The dissent accuses the court of unshackling itself from constraints. It is the dissent's rhetoric that lacks restraint, y'all. So, now this is a hot button issue, y'all. I'm going to show y'all the other fights that have been recently going on. But first, let's hear from your boy, y'all. Oh, Hakeem Jeffries, y'all. He's promising to... He's getting right up there. I think he's brushing up against making threats. Like, he's very close to making threats at this point.
In the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. Everything is on the table. Everything to deal with this corrupt MAGA majority that is issuing political opinions that are designed to bolster the prospects of the Republican Party. And we will not allow them to succeed.
All right, y'all. So temperatures are very high. Tempers are flaring. And this is not the only recent fight among the Supreme Court, y'all. I'm going to go into reminding y'all at the other fights over just the past few weeks.
Supreme Court justices have been facing some backlash after a series of rare and public comments.
This morning, multiple Supreme Court justices are facing scrutiny for rare public criticism of their colleagues.
The justices need to return to acting like the final court of review.
Speaking at Yale this week, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson slamming the conservative justices, claiming they've used emergency orders to benefit the Trump administration.
The court's stay decisions can, at times, come across utterly irrational.
Jackson claiming the justices are acting too frequently on issues that could be handled by lower courts, such as trans people in the military and the protected status of immigrant groups.
There is value in avoiding having the court continually touching the third rail of every divisive policy issue in American life.
So there you can see Ketanji Brown Jackson is the one who knows, y'all. She's the one who knows, the most recently added member of the court, the person who's been there for the least amount of time, the person who's probably one of the youngest members of the court, if not the youngest. She knows better than everybody else, y'all. So all of you other Supreme Court justices who have been doing this for decades and decades, what are you doing? You're not listening to Ketanji Brown Jackson?
She's critical of the country, and she's critical of her own court. And she's critical of the fact that the Supreme Court's been a backstop to fix some of these lower court decisions.
And when she says harmful acts, what she's talking about is the Supreme Court allowing the President of the United States to exercise his executive authority. You know, I got to tell you, Brian, the speech that she gave here, it took some serious chutzpah. She's only been on the court for a couple of years. She's the most junior member of the court, and yet she went to Yale and gave a speech where she says basically, my colleagues are getting it all wrong. And I can be the catalyst for change. And you have to remember, Ketanji Brown Jackson has basically been a rubber stamp for the lower courts that are just blocking every single thing that the Trump administration is trying to do. So again, two different speeches, but I really encourage everyone to go watch Clarence Thomas's speech. It's a national treasure.
Oh, but that's not the only kerfuffle happening right now, y'all. You also have Sotomayor. She criticized Brett Kavanaugh. It sounds like she's saying, hey, Brett, what do you know, man? You grew up rich. You grew up with wealth. You grew up with privilege. What do you know about working class people? So I don't know if you have to be a working class person to be a successful Supreme Court justice, or if you need to have grown up poor in order to learn how to, or to know how to interpret the law. But yeah, she had to walk those comments back, y'all, because, well, let's take a look.
It comes as Justice Sonia Sotomayor apologizes for comments she made about Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who was part of a majority decision on immigration enforcement. Sotomayor saying, "This is from a man whose parents were professionals and probably doesn't really know any person who works by the hour." Now she's apologizing, saying, "I made remarks that were inappropriate. I regret my hurtful comments. I have apologized to my colleague."
And now we come to all of your favorite Supreme Court justice. I know who your favorite is. Oh, Clarence Thomas, y'all. Clarence Thomas is also speaking out, y'all. You got a lot of talking outside of the court talking happening right now. Clarence Thomas is kind of like firing back at Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sotomayor, y'all. We call this sneak dissing where I'm from. He's not name dropping. They're not dropping names, right? He's not name dropping. He's not dropping their names, but he's sneak dissing. He's talking about them without dropping their names, y'all. So Clarence Thomas is getting in on the action. He's basically like, yo, shut up.
One of them, Justice Clarence Thomas, has controversial ties here to North Texas. The conservative justice has drawn scrutiny over his relationship with Dallas billionaire Harlan Crow, including luxury trips he didn't disclose at the time. Justice Thomas has called Crow a dear friend and says he followed disclosure guidance even as he later agreed to tighten the rules. He's also been linked to Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, even receiving a Super Bowl ring.
Conservative Justice Clarence Thomas also speaking out publicly, telling an audience at the University of Texas that the progressive movement is a threat to America.
Progressivism seeks to replace the basic premises of the Declaration of Independence, and hence our form of government.
Billionaire Harlan Crow was in the audience.
It is so special to have our dear friends Harlan and Kathy Crow join us today.
It's the first time Thomas has publicly acknowledged Crow since the scandal involving gifts and undisclosed luxury vacations he took with the billionaire. Thomas later amended his disclosure forms. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
So yeah, y'all, even the Supreme Court has entered the social media era, the meme era, the unprofessional era where, hey, we're just gonna all go at each other. It's partisan. It's bickering. It's throwing shots. It's subliminals. It's all of that stuff. And I guess that's just where we are, y'all. So we didn't talk about this on this channel. So y'all let me know, what do y'all think about the Supreme Court decision? Do you think it was rightfully decided? And aside from the decision itself, do you think it's justifiable to pause or to basically cancel an ongoing election in Louisiana to redraw the lines more favorably to one side and then do the election again after people have already started voting? Let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment down below. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your
Hi, Shirley. Well, in theory, politics are not supposed to play a part in this. But the bottom line here is every New Yorker knows that Mayor Zohran Mamdani campaigned on a rent freeze.
So, as New York's mayor gets ready to freeze rents on millions of apartments, some people, and that would be landlords, are sounding the alarm. Because while apartments can cost an average of $5,000 a month, certain buildings find themselves underwater because their rents are already regulated by the iron fist of the communist state, which the mayor wants to use as he attempts to fulfill a campaign promise to freeze rents in these buildings entirely, which, as you're about to see, will create the worst housing crisis in New York City history.
It would hurt everyone. It would hurt the tenants. It would hurt the owners. It would hurt the cities.
Small and medium-sized landlords, especially those with buildings built before the early 1970s, told the Rent Guidelines Board they can barely afford to keep up their buildings as is. They say everything is more expensive, from insurance to property taxes to utilities.
The rent is already too high.
We're facing 3 crises of ICE deportation, wartime inflation, and cuts to the social safety.
All right, you asked about the doggone ballroom. You guys are funny, man. So, are you guys going to ban Google, Meta, Facebook, Apple, BlackRock? These are the people that's funding the ballroom, people. This is funding the ballroom. Amazon. You going to boycott Amazon? Stop the bullshit, y'all. Come on, man. Do y'all research. Look at this. Look at this.
Last year, landlord profits were up 12%.
I'm freezing. Your rent. Mayor Mumdani made it a signature issue.
It's not that hard, Zach. Just Google it, man.
Landlords can weather a rent freeze.
Buildings with rent-stabilized apartments saw their revenue increase by more than 6% last year.
Why would anybody move here now when they see a video like that? Why would somebody of wealth who wants to build a business here or bring a hedge fund here, why would they want to come
Subscribe. Let's get it.
And cut you.
Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Why not? Almost there. Let's get it. Again, these are the people that's funding the ballroom. Come on, Zach. Yeah, Google it for you, Zach, because you keep on tripping about the ballroom. We're not paying for it. Google paying for it.
So 40% of New York apartments are already in the clutches of socialism. And look at this. Some of these buildings that are full of them, they're selling for 90% off. And what nobody's talking about is New York City is already eating itself for breakfast. And after it freezes rents entirely, there ain't going to be nothing left for lunch. Because while the mayor got elected on promises to cap rents, the buildings where these apartments are located, they're already pretty much worthless. And if a building becomes 100% worthless, nobody's going to spend the money to take care of it, because the money to do that's not going to exist. And then the place is going to fall down and become a pile of rubble nobody can inhabit, making our housing crisis worse. But that's not the only reason a rent freeze is a wallet-busting, unaffordability nightmare hiding in plain sight. Sure, you have some buildings that are so bankrupt nobody wants them, but you've got others where there are a mix of properties. Some are regulated, others are not. And while New Yorkers overwhelmingly voted for a mayor who said he was going to freeze your rent, not every New Yorker is going to benefit from this. In fact, people living in free market apartments next to their rent-regulated neighbors are going to be in for a shock when the landlord has to raise their rent because he can't touch the rents of people who just got a handout from the mayor. Which brings us to the real reason this rent freeze might be the worst thing to ever happen to New York City housing. It's going to make everybody's life worse while it does something else, which is even worse. Because when you see a building lose all of its value and sell at a 90% discount, the property taxes the city can collect on it won't be what they used to be. And we just heard from the mayor how he might need to raise property taxes on the middle class to pay for all of his free stuff, which means after the rent gets frozen, the people of this city are going to be paying for that one way or another, which means New Yorkers are about to get a crash course in exactly how destructive communism can be.
It would hurt everyone. It would hurt the tenants. It would hurt the owners. It would hurt the cities.
Small and medium-sized landlords, especially those with buildings built before the early 1970s, told the Rent Guidelines Board they can barely afford to keep up their buildings as is. They say everything is more expensive, from insurance to property taxes to utilities.
So the whole argument here about why we need to freeze the rents is because these are the greediest people on the face of the earth, and they're just out there ripping everybody off. And obviously, that's not true. These people, they've got these buildings, and they're full of regulated apartments, and they can't make enough money to maintain their own buildings that they invested in. Now, does that sound like a good investment? If it costs more to maintain the thing than it's actually bringing in? I don't think so, and this is a disaster. But don't worry, the communists have a plan to save landlords in this position.
To the extent that Mayor Zohran Mamdani has argued the city has resources available for landlords in distress.
These programs exist on paper, but in practicality, when housing providers actually put the pen to paper and try to submit applications, the amount of bureaucratic red tape and distinguishing factors on who's eligible and who's not weeds 90% of the people that need these programs.
Wow, so the city's got plans and programs in place to help you if you're a struggling landlord and your building's about to fall down. But the problem is those programs don't work. And you know why they don't work? Because the city has no place getting involved with housing. Did you know New York City's actually the biggest landlord in the entire country? They've got 6,000 vacant apartments in their public housing buildings that they can't seem to find the money to renovate. You know why? Because their communist system that taxes everybody to pay for everybody else isn't working there. It's not working here. And this is about to get a whole lot worse. And nothing is going to save these property owners. And it's sad to watch.
Mayor's office tells me the city is working to help landlords, launching just last week a new city-backed insurance program, plus supporting reforms to tax rules that would make it easier for landlords to make repairs. Plus, the city helps preserve roughly 16,000 units of housing each year.
Okay, that's what they say. They can say that all they want. The costs to operate these buildings keep going up, and if you're going to freeze the rent and bring down the income, eventually we're going to be here. Some buildings are already here, and now what? If the city wants to help these landlords, it's very simple. They can roll back some of the laws they've passed that make it unaffordable to be a landlord, but they don't want to do that. That is not how communism works. We never roll back laws. We just stack new ones on top of each other, and then we come up with new programs, because that way the government is both the cause of and solution to everything going on here, you see? And you want to know why these buildings are selling at a 90% discount? It's not just that the rents aren't enough. You got some renters living in these regulated apartments. They don't even pay. They can still stay. Look at this. Insurance hikes are a problem. And then you got this chronic non-payment of rent. You can stay in these apartments without paying rent for months, sometimes even years. Now, yes, New York City has housing court, and yes, the leases people sign might say they agree to pay for the place and they agree to pay for damages, but anybody who's been to housing court in New York realizes that the same judges that are releasing violent repeat offenders over and over again, they've got the same attitude as the judges in housing court that see a bunch of lawless tenants destroying a building and say, well, these greedy landlords deserve it. Nobody ever gets justice in housing court except the renter, and sometimes the renter walks away with the justice that's due the landlord because they live in a place for free and never have to pay for it. And that's why these buildings are going bust. And at the same time, there are other laws out there that make it even more expensive to run these buildings that the communist overlords of New York have zero problem with.
Exploding insurance costs is threatening the future of New York. And last week, I had testified before the New York State Senate to talk about this very issue. We shared new data from 60,000 apartments, and it's brutal. Insurance premiums are up 113% in the last 5 years, and up 134% in the Bronx and North.
What's doing that?
Some buildings are paying over $3,300 per apartment just for insurance, and it's getting worse. New York City is number one for questionable slip.
There's a long-standing myth that low-information voters buy into. It's that Republicans are for the rich and the Democrats are for the little guy, the party of the poor. But at the American Thinker website, pundit Derek Wilburn ran the numbers, and the economic data during the regime turns the myth on its head. Wilburn found that under the first 6 years of the Obama administration, the rich have gotten very rich.
Yeah, I'm coming with information for you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm right here. I'm reading the chat. I'm listening. I'm doing my own research. I'm learning as I'm showing this with you guys, you know? I'm growing with you guys, getting information out there. Common sense.
The poor have gotten very poor. In 2008, there were 39.8 million families living under the poverty line.
Subscribe,
In 2014,
subscribe.
the number's projected to be right around 50 million. There are over 46 million Americans on food stamps, another stat that's
No
risen
problem, Christopher.
dramatically
Thank
under
you.
Obama. The bottom line is that the number of American families collecting some kind of welfare under Obama is at a post-Depression era high. One figure that Wilburn did not include in the mix is the 90 million people chronically unemployed. Now, meanwhile, over 1 million new millionaires are created under Obama. How? Well, look at the taxpayer dollars the regime threw at companies like Solyndra. Green energy firms went bankrupt, but his buddies, who also happen to be donors, walked away wealthy. And look how his big Wall Street and Silicon Valley donors are made out. Under Obama's crony socialism, Obama's cronies live like kings. But low information voters are going to keep drinking the Obama Kool-Aid as long as he pours it, because that's all many of them can afford to drink, because Obama's going to help them at some point. You wait. Bullshit. But wait, there's more.
Obama is elegant with lying. President Trump is brutal at telling the truth. I would take a brutal truth over a comforting lie any day of the week. Let's go, President Trump. Here's an inconvenient truth that Black people probably didn't know, and the Democratic Party definitely do not want you to know. The first 23 Black senators, they were all Republican. Yes, you heard me right, and I will say it again. The first 23 Black senators, they were all Republican. They was elected during the Reconstruction era from 1870 to 1875. I know that doesn't sit well with you, the Democratic Party, because you want Black people to think that Republicans are the racists. I haven't seen Democrats this mad since the Republicans freed their slaves.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You lose.
Even with video proof showing the claim is false.
Oh, look at that. So it's not just the communists that walk down the street in New York and see a building and say, hey, I see a dollar sign. Let's take that. You've got criminals doing the exact same thing, walking around getting injured on properties where their actions are recorded, and you've still got insurers paying out these claims, because when this goes to court in a city that hates landlords, the landlords always lose. Now the insurance is going through the roof, and this just adds to every single thing the city is stacking on top of property owners. Did you know that property owners also have to pay for all the water being used in these residential apartments? Look at this. Last year, the cost for water coming into buildings went up 3.7%, following an 8.5% increase. Look at that. This adds all kinds of costs to operating a building. This is bad for landlords because it's essentially a hidden tax. And it says right here, in a rent-stabilized apartment, the landlord can't pass that along to the renter. So you got people living in rent-stabilized apartments using unlimited amounts of water that the landlord has to pay for. Once the rents get frozen in these buildings, it's not going to make sense to even operate them. I actually know somebody that started a greenhouse, and they were living in a rent-stabilized apartment, and they had a greenhouse with a whole bunch of plants in there that they were selling on Facebook Marketplace. They got all the water for free. The landlord was subsidizing their business.
16,000 units of housing each year. Mayor Mamdani himself has been careful to say he respects the independent process of the Rent Guidelines Board, but stands by many tenants in his belief there should be a rent freeze for 2 million New Yorkers in rent-stabilized housing. Several of those tenants testified as well Thursday, saying they can barely afford to stay in the city because of rising costs of, well, everything.
We're facing three crises of ICE deportation, wartime inflation, and cuts to the social safety net. Last year, landlord profits were up 12%.
Okay, but not in buildings that are full of rent-regulated apartments and are being sold for a 90% discount. Profits aren't up in those buildings, and if you freeze the rent, the ones that are profitable, nothing happens to them. And then this individual says that ICE deportations are bad for the rental market. Well, if there's folks living in apartments and they're not supposed to be in the country, and they're here illegally, and then something happens and they're not allowed to live in those apartments anymore. Now you have empty apartments, which someone could move into, and that actually helps bring down rent. So I don't know if these people fully understand what they're talking about. Wartime inflation, that's also temporary. We shouldn't freeze rents permanently because of a temporary situation that's going to resolve itself.
6 of the 9 members were appointed by Mayor Mamdani. So will they help him keep his pledge to freeze the rent? Here's our Witness News reporter, MJ Birkin.
Are you kidding me?
With New York City rents rising to historic levels, the Rent Guidelines Board is facing unprecedented pressure to hold the line on the 40% of apartments that are rent regulated.
The rent is already too high.
The board heard from tenants like Emma Rehack, who shares an apartment with 2 roommates in Upper Manhattan and spends 30% of her income on rent.
Our landlords' incomes are not in crisis. It is our housing, our basic need for shelter, that is in crisis.
I mean, this couldn't be further from the truth, and this is the testimony. Obviously, we can look at the numbers of a building and see if the income's in crisis or not. If you've got a building where the rents are here and the expenses are here, that's a crisis, and it's not a crisis for the renter. It could be a crisis for both the renter and the landlord, but the government certainly isn't going to solve that by picking a favorite and either capping the rents at a level that caused the landlord to go out of business or letting the rents to go up to a point where everybody becomes homeless. The government is not the solution here. These individuals, this whole process ignores the solution. Everybody that's living in one of these apartments should be all about the idea that landlords build more buildings. You've got to increase the supply. That's the thing that nobody's talking about here. That's the thing that nobody wants to do. And because we live in a communist regime where business owners are the enemy and millionaires are the enemy, the last thing they're going to do is let a bunch of private property owners come in and redevelop these empty lots and turn these into places people can live. Because you know what? That would solve a problem and make somebody rich. That's what capitalism does. Capitalism's evil. Can't have that. So this is what we get. And with the mayor basically stacking the deck, appointing all of the people to this supposedly independent board that is going to decide whether or not rents should be frozen or not after listening to both sides of the story and making an impartial decision. I think we already know what that decision is going to be, don't we?
I'm freezing your rent. Mayor Mamdani made it a signature issue in the campaign and later made good on his pledge to appoint half a dozen members of the 9-member board.
Yeah, they're going to freeze
insisting
this.
landlords can weather a rent freeze.
Buildings with rent-stabilized apartments saw their revenue increase by more than 6% last year.
Oh, but that doesn't matter. He says revenues were up 6%. Anybody who's ever run a business understands that to figure out how much money you're actually making, you've got your revenue, then you got your expenses, which for some of these buildings are higher than the revenue, and then you have the bottom line, which is a negative number for some of these buildings. Also, look at how politically smart the mayor was. He says right here in his little video, I'm freezing your rent. That video was seen by millions of people who voted for the mayor because he said he was going to freeze your rent. But what if you don't live in a rent-stabilized apartment? This video doesn't make any mention of that. He says he's going to freeze your rent. People went out and voted for it, and some of these people, they're living in an apartment next to somebody else whose rent's going to get frozen, and then their rent's actually going to go up. They don't understand that by voting for communism, they just voted for redistribution because here they are in a market rate apartment, which they can afford. And guess what? More will be expected of them so that other people can have things a little bit better. You see, that's how communism works.
Increased by more than 6% last year.
But the board also heard from landlords who are struggling with rising costs like fuel oil and insurance.
One thing we can say for sure, the trend is alarming. Insurance has increased by well over 100% in the past 5 years.
The war in Iran has dramatically increased our fuel costs.
Jose Tour owns a 45-unit building in Washington Heights, purchased in 1979 by his grandfather who emigrated from Cuba. His profit margin is less than 10%.
That's wild. So he's making less than 10% on 47 units. There goes the myth of the rich, greedy, evil property owner that is living large while everybody else suffers. This guy's making probably less money than some of his renters who are busy complaining about his rent and are about to get a rent freeze. That's wild. Also, if he's operating on a 10% profit margin, that means if his apartment empire generates $1 million a year in rental revenue, he keeps $100,000 a of income. That's not enough to live in the apartments that he's renting to people. So he can't even live in his own building if that's what he's making. And now landlords are supposed to fix their buildings. They got to pay for all the water. They got the rising insurance. They got the slip and falls. They got all the crime taking place outside of these places that creates excess fines because you got people littering and throwing garbage all over the place, which landlords then have to clean up. I mean, this whole thing is a nightmare for anybody who's achieved anything, and that's likely on purpose.
You feel like you're fighting a losing battle?
It definitely feels that way. Right off the bat, I know, and it feels like we're the underdog, and we have to fight every day for our interests.
Because he's the
Do you
enemy.
have any sense of how it's going to go?
I hope that if they are very serious about addressing the affordability crisis in New York, they're going to decrease our rent because the renters are ready to.
Okay, so this woman testified that she spends 30% of her income in rent, which is a lot. But look at this. According to this 2023 study, she's doing better than 30% of New York, a number which has only gone up since then. People are spending half their income on rent. If anything, she's one of the rich people, and she should be expected to pay a little bit more because Iran appears to be launching their final offensive.
The fragile ceasefire is teetering as Iran launches new attacks. Iranian state media broadcasting these images, claiming they show rockets firing warning shots.
That doesn't look like a ceasefire.
Subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already.
Hey guys,
Thank you, thank you.
Bad idea,
to
man.
rise across the Middle East as Iran is firing on vessels in the Persian Gulf. This comes as the United States is working to guide ships out of the Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz as part of Project Freedom. Overnight, CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper described the U.S. firepower protecting the operation.
Firepower.
It's a defensive operation. We are employing U.S. ballistic missile defense-capable destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and then 15,000 service members.
Yeah,
to
good luck
extend
messing
this
with that.
defensive umbrella across the Strait of Hormuz. We have an enormous amount of capability and firepower concentrated in and around the strait, including AH-64 Apache and M-860 Seahawk helicopters.
I spoke yesterday with President.
Yet we're supposed to believe Iran has a chance of turning the tide?
Today, the administration announced 2 U.S.-flagged commercial ships were able to make it through. But Iran responded with a defiant show of force, firing at American Navy vessels and a commercial South Korean ship. Trump says ships are moving through the strait and the war is going well. It's working out very nicely. Most Americans disagree.
Wow, so to some people, Iran's winning.
I spoke yesterday with President Trump, who told me that if Iran attacks U.S. vessels in this area, they will be, quote, blown off the face of the earth. The president went on to say, we have more weapons and ammunition at a much higher grade than we had before. We have the best equipment. We have stuff all over the world. We have these bases all over the world. They're all stocked up with the equipment. We can use all of that stuff, and we will if we need it. We do know early on Monday, 2 vessels were successfully escorted through the strait, but since then, Iran has ramped up attacks on the UAE, a U.S. ally in the Gulf.
This is stupid
missiles
too,
and 4
man.
drones targeted the country with damage caused to a key oil facility. The bottom line here is the Iranians are testing this fragile ceasefire as the United States is preparing for the possibility of a return to combat operations.
And what some people are saying is this new Operation Freedom has a purpose that is a little bit different than what it looks like.
President Trump has directed U.S. Central Command.
Thank you, Chris, for stopping by, man. Appreciate it, man. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, thank you.
To restart the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz under the umbrella of Project Freedom. To be clear, this operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope.
But by putting U.S. ships in this area and telling everybody else, hey, go ahead, break Iran's blockade, this is essentially the biggest double dog dare in the entire world to the Iranians to say, hey, look, we're opening this thing up. And if you try to stop us, there's going to be a problem.
And let it be known that we can protect you if you go through the strait. While it's good news the destroyers made it through, we destroyed 5 or 6 fast boats. The bad news is, as long as there's that type of fire and resistance, you're not going to have any tankers go through, correct?
But that's the purpose of this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be very challenging, and the president noted this in our conversation yesterday. There's a lot of oil right now on these vessels in the Persian Gulf. The Iranians miscalculated because they thought the United States would back down, but what the president has done is twofold. Not only block Iranian ports, but also Project Freedom, escorting these vessels out of the Persian Gulf and through the Strait.
This takes away the only leverage Iran had left. They said, this is our strait, this is our leverage, and now it's gone.
Now, the Iranians so far have tried to test the American resolve in this area.
It's not
but
gonna
as
work.
the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Brad Cooper, noted yesterday in that briefing, there are more than 15,000 U.S. soldiers, sailors, and Marines in this area that are helping to escort these vessels. They are not actively riding alongside the vessels, but they are overwatching them.
Yeah.
And so they have the ability to shoot down the incoming Iranian fire. But again, Iran is not only targeting vessels in the Persian Gulf, but they've now turned to start attacking with ballistic missiles and drones these countries in the Gulf, including the United Arab Emirates.
And that's because what else are they going to attack if this whole thing is over in the next day or so? If there's a surrender, if they decide to stop fighting entirely and lay down their arms, this was their last chance to launch something. And it's sad that this is what they want to do, attacking people who aren't even involved.
So there will be tense days ahead and questions about if there will be any sort of response to these ongoing Iranian efforts to disrupt shipping in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, I mean, Trey, the UAE Defense Ministry has confirmed that their air defense systems did intercept the ballistic missiles. Iran is denying that it's coming from them. This does mark escalation.
Then where else
Is
is it
this a
coming from?
violation of the ceasefire?
Who else is launching ballistic missiles over there?
Yes, it is a violation of the ceasefire, and it's not the first time that Iran has violated the ceasefire, despite the ongoing diplomatic efforts and the olive branch that President Trump has.
But it's impressive how quickly that response was. And those oil prices will eventually hit gasoline on the market. I mean, all of this is positive. Let's see how long this holds. Iran is expected to respond within hours. So
Markets are soaring right now. My team may pop that up as I'm talking about it. But it's impressive how quick a deal to end the war with Iran's regime appears to be coming together. News of a potential one-page agreement. President Trump is now touting great progress in the push for peace. And the punch of positivity is already having a fast effect. Oil prices have fallen below $100 a barrel. Markets are soaring right now. My team may pop that up as I'm talking about it. But it's impressive how quickly that response was. And those oil prices will eventually hit gasoline on the market. I mean, all of this is positive. Let's see how long this holds. Iran is expected to respond within hours. So that deadline on them is tight. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump posted this on his Truth Social earlier this morning. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is, perhaps, a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts. And this. The blockade will remain in full force and effect. Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time. Secretary of State Rubio with this on the military phase of the war. He said this late yesterday.
Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know about.
Let's get it. 2,000 subscribers. Let's get it.
Epic Fury is
2,000 subscribers.
We're done with that.
Almost there.
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal.
Retired four-star Air Force General Charles Wald will be with me in moments. First, let's go to Peter Doocy at the White House, where the news is moving very fast. Peter.
Very fast, Harris, and you were just talking about this. We've got the details of this 14-point plan, according to Axios. Under the banner, U.S. and Iran closing in on one-page memo to end the war. We've got these. A 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment, which would be less than the 20-year ban President Trump previously said he didn't like. There would be limits of 4% enrichment after that. There would be a ban on underground nuclear facilities, a vow to never seek a nuclear weapon, commitment to enhanced nuclear inspections, and an end to restrictions on travel through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump, though, is telling the New York Post it's too soon right now to schedule a new round of in-person talks with Iran. So this is a very high-stakes game of telephone, still led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
I'm not sure it's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat.
We don't know how many Iranian leaders who ordered protesters a couple months ago murdered are still there, but a separate piece of this puzzle is avoiding future slaughter of protesters by arming them.
Do you plan to arm them soon? Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns, and when they start shooting them right between the eyes.
And Reuters is reporting in a bulletin that just crossed that the Israelis did not know folks here at the White House were so close to a deal, if that is in fact where we are, so close to a deal. So the Israelis had been preparing to ramp fighting up with Iran until this morning. Harris.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Reuters right now. That seems very significant that they didn't know, because in the beginning it was Roaring Lion operation and Epic Fury. Epic Fury now, State Secretary Rubio told us, is over. Your last quick one.
Yes, remember, Netanyahu and Trump were here at the beginning. Everything was happening together. So it seems like at the end, they are not necessarily coordinating as closely.
Peter Ducey, getting us started. I appreciate you. Thank you. And focus now, retired 4-star Air Force General Charles Wald, former Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command. Sir, great to have you. I want to start with that bit of news, with Israel and the United States maybe not being yoked as they were at the beginning of the war. Your reaction?
I'd be pretty surprised if the Israelis and the United States aren't in pretty much lockstep. I mean, you hear things in public, but there's a lot of discussion going on. Our main issue in the Middle East, frankly, besides the fact that Iran is so provocative.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Like and subscribe, everybody, and comment. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Name is Deunta. Subscribe. Trying to get to 2,000 subscribers and more.
And we'll set just aside what happened today for a second. When Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Operation Epic Fury yesterday was over, we could get a sense, and that's why you saw reporters really leaning in with questions on that perhaps something was on the horizon, and now word of a one-page deal. I want to get your direct thoughts on the strategy that has gotten us here in the last 24 hours.
Well, I think from my perspective, there's two things. One is the security of our friends, Israel, I've mentioned, and the GCC countries in the Middle East. That's paramount. And then number two is for the Iranians not to have a nuclear capability. They're associated, but they're somewhat separate. And I think both of those are objectives of the United States. I mean, we will never let. I thought Secretary Rubio did a super job yesterday, matter of fact. And I think he explained
Thank you, 1970. Thank you.
Project Freedom, you name it. Those are interesting names, but the end state for us is a secure Middle East that isn't threatened by Iran.
Do you think we can move the ball on Iran with the nuclear capability that they have? Not a lot of it above 60% enriched uranium, but they're moving toward that weapons grade, as we've known all along.
Well, I kind of look at it as two kind of the associated phases. One is the diplomatic side, which we've heard a lot about, and number two is the reality. And I think for the United States, anything that Iran does to have a nuclear capability in the future has to be addressed and will continue to be addressed every day, regardless of what you call the agreement. So, number one, I think the IRGC is back on its heels. I think that it's going to take some time, but I think the number one issue there was that they fail, and number two is that we secure Israel
This is my channel.
and countries as our allies.
All right, I want to get to this. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also talked about gas prices. That's where Americans' heads are. If you talk with any of these voters in primary season, let's watch.
We don't benefit from the straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really.
Check it out. Check it out.
So we're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want.
How is today different?
I don't think today is any different. I think there's a lot of rhetoric on TV and in diplomatic discussions.
Beautiful Bill. What's up? What's up?
Again, is that Iran doesn't have a capability to threaten anybody in the world with a nuclear weapon, and number two, that we secure Israel along with them.
So again, I don't just do live stream. I do long stream, shorts, all of it. You check it out, like and subscribe. Leave comments.
And our GCC counterparts, and there's a lot of rhetoric you hear on the news and such. I thought that, like I said, I thought the Secretary did a great job. But the end state, as far as I'm concerned, is a Middle East where Iran can't threaten its neighbors and doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Period.
Last quick question. Do you think we will own Iran then? I mean, you're talking about potentially helping people on the ground. What does that look like?
I think we help the people. First of all, I'm not a big fan of invading Iran necessarily, although I think on the coastline we could do some things that would secure the Straits of Hormuz. Mm-hmm. We do not want to own Iran. The people of Iran need to own Iran. We need to have set the stage where the people of Iran can have a government that doesn't threaten the rest of the Middle East, and that's our objective. We don't want to own Iran.
General Wald, always great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harris.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the White House. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our Vice President, J.D. Vance, and his wife, Usha. Welcome. It is our pleasure to join today by Secretary McMahon, Mrs. Haxett, and I'm also honored to welcome Mrs. Melody Wolf and Lorraine Hawk, and to my Chief of Staff, Haley Harrison, who is preparing to welcome her second child onto the world. Haley, you are a wonderful mother, and I wish you and your growing family all great things. I often think about the brave people who make the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. When I went to honor the fallen service members from the 103rd Sustainment Command at Dover Air Force Base last March, I realized that words cannot comfort the all-consuming grief that family members and mothers in particular experience. The loss is overwhelming. Although I understand the deep pride these families feel in their loved ones' service to our great republic, I cannot fathom the depth of their sorrow.
How you doing,
A
cutie?
mother is awestruck when she welcomes her child into the world. After 9 months, the miracle of life creates a fascinating bond between mother and child. With each breath, day by day, this bond deepens, bringing forth emotions never felt before. Quite frankly, these are emotions understood only by women. Only a mother can carry this type of powerful connection with her child, which is also too profound for words. This is a time of military conflict for America, and whereby we honor our selfless and valiant service members regularly. Today is the day we hold their mothers in the highest regard. It is these military mothers who find themselves alone, awake in their thoughts in the darkest hours of the night. Of course, we must also remember the mothers with a spouse overseas, praying for a safe return so their family can become whole once again. At the very heart of America's strength lies the boundless love and quiet power of mothers. We are the most devoted teachers, gently nurturing empathy, inspiring dreams, and guiding our children towards goodness. We help them rise with courage when life grows difficult. In every hug, every story read at bedtime, and every sacrifice made without complaint, mothers build the moral foundation of our families. In doing so, America's mothers help build the soul of our nation. I pray you find enduring strength as your loved one serves in defense of our freedom. Most know my husband as the strong commander-in-chief, but his empathy transcends the role and shape a caring leader who constantly remembers each and every American soldier is someone's child. Distinguished guests, please join me with a warm welcome for our President, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you. Great job. So I want to thank everybody for being here. We have so many things to talk about, but there's nothing more important than military moms that I can tell you, because without you, I don't think it would be in this house. I don't think this house probably ever would have been built a long time ago. So important. I want to start off by saying we're in our great vice presidents right here, and we're in I call it a skirmish, because that's what it is. It's a skirmish. And we're doing unbelievably well, as we did in Venezuela, where it was rapid, over in one day. And we're doing pretty much equally as well, I would say, larger. But we're doing very well in Iran. It's going very smoothly, and we'll see what happens. They want to make a deal. They want to negotiate. And I think that military mothers would want to hear that. Do you agree? I think it's appropriate. Somebody would say, oh, that's not appropriate. I think military mothers want to hear about this stuff. And we have the greatest. And we have the greatest military that we've ever had. We have the greatest military in the world by far. There's nobody even close. And I think we've displayed that. I built the military in my first term. Much of it was when I inherited the military. It was like when I inherited the border. The border was a mess, and the military was a mess. A lot of you know that because you were there to witness it. And now we have the strongest military that we've ever had. We're just getting a approval of $1.5 trillion to upgrade our military still further. But when I was spending all that money in my first term, it was a great term, a very unbelievable term. We had the best economic numbers that the country's ever had. Now we're going to blow them away. We're blowing them away right now. But I built the military in my first term with the help of a lot of great admirals, generals, and everybody else. And I didn't know we'd be using it quite so much, but that's okay, and whatever it is, because in the case of Iran, we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And we're not going to let that happen, and we won't let that happen. And so we're dealing with people that want to make a deal very much, and we'll see whether or not they can make a deal that's satisfactory to us. We have it very much under control. The blockade is unbelievable. The Navy's been incredible. The job they did is like a wall of steel. Nobody goes through. In particular, the Iranians, they're not getting anything through one way or the other, so they're out of business. And we'll see whether or not they are agreeing. And if they don't agree, they'll end up agreeing shortly thereafter. So that's the way it is. And I thought you might want to have a little rundown now. The fake news is all happy because they can hear what we had to say. And I have to say, JD's doing a fantastic job. He's working with us, with him and all of the team, Marco. We have Steve Witkoff, Jared. We have a whole group, the generals. And General Kane has been fantastic. Pete Hegseth, incredible. We have just a great group of people. CIA, John Redcliffe, he's great. I think Mrs. Redcliffe's even here someplace. And are you here, Mrs. Redcliffe? I think somebody said yes. But we have amazing people. We have an amazing military. And I think it's on display. Sometimes you'd rather not have it be on display, but they're there for a purpose. And the greatest military anywhere in the world. And the world is watching us as we do our thing. And we have the respect of the world, which we didn't have. 2 years ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world in every way. So I just want to congratulate you all because you're a big part of it. And I want to thank you, Melania. Amazing the job you've done. She did a little movie and it became the #1 movie. Now, you know, and I can't exaggerate because if I did, they would be all over. It wasn't #1, it was #2, it was #5. So I have to be very, very careful with it. Then it went streaming. It's a different world. I didn't even know what they were talking about. They said, oh, and it became #1 streaming too. So congratulations. That's an amazing achievement. Huh? And most importantly to her, she's done an incredible job as First Lady. And she's an incredible mom. She has a little boy who's quite tall. He's a little boy to us, but he's quite tall, right? And he's great, Baron. And she takes great care of him. And thank you. Great mom. Today we're honored to welcome to the White House a group of strong and resilient women who represent the best of our country, the amazing military mothers. So important. And we want to thank you all for being here. So many of you I know or recognize, and I want to thank you very much because there's nothing like the White House, right? Is it the coolest? And by the way, right behind me, see that? You call it a window or a drape. I call it a knockout panel. Because behind that, in fact, if you want to see it, I think we could work it out, but behind that window is a end drape. In fact, the drapes are so nice, I think I'm going to leave
Zach, I'm glad you're in the chat, man. You make the chat very interesting, man. I really appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Zach, I really appreciate you, man. Real talk. No bullshit. I'm glad you're in the chat.
Bingo. Which everybody likes, especially since last Saturday evening. They like it because it'll have a thing called security. It'll be nice. But right back there is where we're building. So if you hear any pounding noises, the pile drivers are out. It's already up to the first floor, but we're a little bit ahead of schedule, right on budget. But it's going to be something great. It'll be one of the most beautiful buildings of its kind anywhere in the world. And you know, for 150 years, presidents have wanted
we getting there.
a room. This is the ballroom right here. And it's too small. We had the king and queen of a lovely country, United Kingdom, and we would have had at least 1,000. Everybody wanted to be here, and we had.
Hey man, y'all people sick, man, because we voted for Trump and y'all didn't get y'all vote, which, you know what I'm saying? Trump won fair and square. We voted for Trump. Stop wishing death on this man. Y'all are sick people, man. You don't want nobody wishing death on you or harming your people. So don't do it to the president. If you don't like him, that's cool. Don't wish no death on him or nobody. We gotta do better, people. This is crazy. People in the chat want the man dead. Don't come in my chat with this shit.
We had 112 people because this is
all lives matter.
It's not big enough. It's got one, and it's been that way for
all lives.
Many, many years. So every president's been calling. But I was in a position, being a builder and having built many ballrooms and many other things. I'm good at ballrooms, and we're giving you I believe it's the best. It'll be.
How that's crazy. How the Democrat Party, the Karens, these leftists, the Dixiecrats normalize killing somebody. Like it's okay. Like it's a new fashion. Oh, new shoes. Kill somebody. Really? We got to stay prayed up, people. We got to stay prayed up, especially as conservatives and right-wingers. We got to stay prayed up, man. God is in control.
Be the best ever built. And it will have windows that are thicker than any ballroom I've ever built. I usually have glass that's about 1/4 of an inch thick. This is about 6 inches thick. This can repel a lot of different weapons, but it's going to be incredible. It's going to be, aside from being secure, it's going to be I think it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom ever built. And it's something that the White House has needed, the presidents have needed, and it's an honor to be involved. And it really has become very popular. When people see the design, they really like it, and it's been great. Gotten some great reviews. Also, with us is Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, my friend, who's done such a fantastic job wherever you are, Linda. Hi, Linda. She's great. What a job. Along with Jennifer Hegseth. Jennifer? Hi, Jennifer. He's doing some job, I'll tell you. He's doing a job. You know, he stood up. He was the only one. He was standing up in the ballroom the other day in the event, the White House. They call it the White House dinner. They were saying, when you use that term, I guess you probably can use it. But we had a little dinner the other night, and your husband was standing on the top of a table. Everyone else was under the table. So that's what we want of our Secretary of War, right? We want somebody, but he was standing on top of the table. Everyone else was under the damn table. Anyway, he's doing a fantastic job. He and the general, those are great news conferences. We like them. They work very well together, I can tell you. The wife of Pete Hegseth, and say hello to Pete. Michelle Ratcliffe. Michelle? Where is Michelle? I think she's here someplace. Michelle. And the wife of CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and Jackie Emmer.
Thank you guys so much for being in the chat. We are 3 hours and 25 minutes in. Thank you guys so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Let's continue.
Jackie, you are so great. Jack, I know Jackie well because her husband and I, we didn't know each other. We fought. You know, in politics you can fight. And then when we got to know each other, we love each other, right? But she always liked Trump. And she convinced her husband, who's a big power in the House, she convinced her husband that Trump was much better than he thought. And I remember you. I like you. Now I really like him. He's an incredible. But I like you more, and I'm always, because you were there long before him, right? But Jackie, you're great. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
right, Texas, they just threw up there. Biden said he's going to step down and promote Kamala, and that was it. Amazing.
As you know, Tom Emmer is the House Majority Whip, and he's a fantastic person, real leader. Comes from an interesting place, a place that's under investigation by our great vice president. They're finding a lot, and Tom Emmer was one of the biggest complainers about what was going on in Minnesota and lots of other places. I also want to say a special thank you to the many moms among our fantastic military aides and social aides who support us here at the White House. They've been incredible. All of you have been so incredible. And I want to thank you very much for being with us today. It's beautiful. The women in this room have sacrificed for our country in countless ways. Among you are veterans and active duty service members, proud spouses, and the parents of those who serve in uniform. Amazing people, the most amazing people. Many of you have missed cherished moments.
Underboss,
really
what's up? What's up?
Spent so much time taking care of the ones you love.
Hey there.
Missed holidays, birthday parties, graduations, or even a child's first words. Others have moved more times than anybody can even count. And I don't know if you love doing it or not, but you get very good at it. You have the way, you know the way to do it. But you do it all because you love America, you love our country. And this week, as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day, we take this opportunity on behalf of all of us to say thank you very much for the incredible job. You do it with love, so it's not, I don't think, there's no such thing as a job if you love it, but we'll call it a job nevertheless. The job you do is incredible, Everybody respects you so much. You have no idea. So I just want to thank you all, and thank you all for being here. Joining us is someone who knows the incredible sacrifice.
Check it out. Check it out.
Brittany Stevenson from Camp Lejeune. That's a hell of a camp. That's beyond a camp. It's the word camp, I don't know. It doesn't look like a camp to me. Her parents were both Marines, and in 1983, her dad survived the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut. We talk about that even to this day. That was something. Brittany loved the Marines so much that she married a Marine herself, and the love of her life. Taylor, over 15 years, her family has moved.
How you doing, Paulette? Paulette, how you doing?
And been assigned to 6 duty stations from all over the world. And now her daughter, Ava, is part of the Marine Corps Junior ROTC program and wants to become a Marine as well.
Welcome to the chat.
So, Brittany, your family is a definition of Semper Fi and always faithful. And I want to thank you. Where are you? Where are you? Please stand up. Would you like to come up and say, come here, Brittany? Come here.
Jay Lee, how you doing? Welcome to the chat.
Thank you. Not really sure what to say, but this is such an honor and a privilege.
Thank you, guys. Subscribe. Thank you. Thank you.
To represent.
We're growing. 2,000 subs.
For Camp Lejeune and military moms and spouses like you all. So, thank you.
Good job. She had no idea she was going to be doing that, but I looked at her. I said, she looks so great. I'm going to get her up here, right? That was beautiful. Thank you very much. As Melania mentioned, we're also honored to be joined by a military mother who sacrificed far more than most. That's Melody Wolf. And, I love the name Melody because for a long time, they have spell correct and word correct on these crazy machines that we use to put out truths, or they used to be called tweets. And every time I wrote Melania, it would correct to Melody. So I do things, and I work very fast, and I talk about it, and I say, and Melania is fantastic, and happy Mother's Day, Melania.
And Paul, thank you, Jay Lee, thank you, man. Name is Deunta. Welcome to the chat.
Melody. And sometimes I wouldn't proofread it, and I'd say, and I would get just absolute decimated. These people would decimate. They said he didn't know the name of his wife. He keeps calling her. And I said, what the hell is wrong with this machine? I didn't know about that little feature, but I got that corrected eventually. Corrected the military. I said, come here, you got to correct this. You're killing me. I took more abuse. She's been called Melody a lot. Anyway, I had to explain it to you this way. I stood up here to explain it to you. I apologize. Last year, Melody's 24-year-old son, Andrew Wolf, of West Virginia National Guard, was on patrol in Washington, D.C., helping to restore law and order to our capital city. And I spoke to her. This woman is amazing. Along with her comrade, specialist Sarah Backstrom, who is just was a fantastic person. He was ambushed by a terrorist and shot in the head. A violent, horrible person did this. Nobody thought Andrew was going to make it, but Melody told me, and I called her that evening in the hospital. Sir, I have no doubt the doctor said he won't be making it. And as you know, Sarah passed away also from a shot to the head by these people, these horrible, horrible people. But Melody was the one person. In fact, Melody's husband, who's great, he didn't feel the same way. But she said, I have no doubt, sir. I'm telling you, he's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. He's going to be fine. I never saw anything. It was really pretty amazing. And she was right. A week went by, another week went by, I'd call and say, how's he doing? Sir, he's doing really well. And the doctors would say, I think he maybe will make it. And she turned out to be right. It was sort of a miracle, actually. And I've never seen, they talk about the power of positive thinking. I've never seen anything like this one. JD, you wouldn't believe it. He had no chance. I'm telling you, and she willed it. And now it's really something very special that I hear he's just doing fantastic. It was a Bible verse from the book of Isaiah. Do not fear, for I am with you. With God's help, Andrew has made a really incredible recovery. It's hard to believe. And during my State of the Union address, we were privileged to award him the Purple Heart. This was a real Purple Heart. This was a terrible thing that happened. And Melody, where are you, Melody? Here you are. Hi. Haven't seen you in a little while, but it's true, the story, right? You were the only one. You know that you were the only one. She was so positive, I don't think she hurt anybody else. And your husband's doing okay. And he feels much better about it. He was not feeling too good. I think you should. Do you want to say something about your boy? And now, come on up here, Melody. No, it's such an amazing story. Such an amazing story. We went through a couple of bad nights together, right?
Yes. I first want to say that we had the nation behind us at a time when
shit, y'all going off
nobody
on
thought
Zach.
our boy would make it. He was 24 years old. He was a young man on the streets of D.C. A shot to the left part of his brain. We have a strong faith in God, and God is what brought our son through this. He gave us an amazing backing. He gave us amazing doctors. He gave us amazing nurses, and our community, our nation, our community, are just all of the support and the support of the White House medical staff. Anything that our son needed was met. We are just truly thankful. And we're a little over 5 months. He came home from the hospital April 2nd. And he is now enjoying being home. He's getting back into playing golf. He loves cornhole, as you know. Yes. He loves doing so many activities. And so we're truly blessed that we're able to get him into some outpatient care closer to home. We do have another surgery coming up in September. And just recovery is my understanding that will happen for quite some time. But I have no doubt that he will be 100% back to Andrew within a few years, independent, driving, being a young bachelor again. So thank you so much.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Nobody really can understand it, but I was with the general, who was fantastic, right? And he said, not much of a chance, maybe no chance. I mean, I hate to say it even, but no chance. They all said the same thing. And she said, no, God is with him. I'm telling you, President, God is with him. He's going to be okay. And I get reports that he's amazing. Right? So congratulations. Thank you very much. You taught us all something. Appreciate it. Also joining us is an outstanding active duty Air Force mom, Lieutenant Colonel Amanda Colazzo. She's an MQ-9 Reaper drone pilot. Whoa, that's pretty good. An evaluator, a weapons officer, and desk officer at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. She has traveled to 20 countries, flown over 7,000 hours, and eliminated many high-value targets. She's a great talent, they say. Our military is strong again, and as Amanda says to herself, we are, as a nation, we are really respected again. She said that, and it's true. So, Amanda, thank you very much. Where are you, Amanda? Where are you? Come on up here, Amanda. I got to do this. You know, they're not expected to, but they're doing very well. Come on up. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Melania, for hosting this event. Thank you, Cindy, for inviting me out here.
I just want to say I'm proud to be an American. I am proud to serve our nation, the world's greatest Air Force. Thank you for all of the moms out here and for your spouses, your kids, yourselves. So thank you all and happy Mother's Day.
Oh, she's very sharp, isn't she? She'll be running for office someday. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. As Commander-in-Chief, I will always support our great service members and their families. We've invested a record-setting trillion, and now it's up to $1.5 trillion, and all built in the USA, by the way, all right? So it's a lot of jobs, too, you know? Some people said I did it for that. Actually, I didn't. I did it for the military, but it's a byproduct. We have tremendous numbers of very talented people building all of.
This will be the last video of the day. I'll be back tomorrow. There's about like 10 minutes left. I really appreciate you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you. Let this video continue. I really appreciate you guys. It's the last one of the day, and I'll be back tomorrow.
Of the things that we do, and we make the best equipment anywhere in the world by far. They're all ordering it for us. In fact,
Smoke Egg, what up, what up?
I've given a special edict that the defense companies who have the best equipment, they're not making it fast enough, and now they're all building plants all over the place. I said, you're not allowed to buy back stock anymore. I told some of these people that are making millions and millions of dollars, you got to reduce your salary. I'm going to reduce your salary. You're going to put it into weapons. And it's been incredible, the spirit we have. And they're building, some of them are building 6-7 plants right now to make the Patriots and the Tomahawks. Tomahawks are unbelievable. Patriots, unbelievable. We had recently, we had 111 missiles shot at one of our very valuable objects, something called an aircraft carrier. Think of this, 111 missiles, high range, high quality, speed missiles, very high, very fast, very top of the line. 111 out of 111 missiles shot at a, you know, well, it used to be, you'd like to say, $1 billion boat. Now they're about $18 billion. They're very expensive. But 111 coming at them at 3,500 miles an hour. All 111 were shot down and didn't even get close to the ship. And they're all laying at the bottom of the ocean along with the Iranian Navy. They're all laying very nicely under the water. But
Thanks, Bill. Thank you. Thank
5
you.
years ago, a thing like that would have been impossible. 10 years ago, it's not even thinkable. Ronald Reagan actually thought of the concept. They called it Star Wars, but it wasn't a concept that anybody thought would ever work. But, you know, you have these things coming at you, and we have the Patriots. The Patriots are the best of them. And we have other things also. But it's when you think you hit 100% of the missiles coming at it's not like, oh, let's let a couple get through. It's not that bad. One gets through, it's problems. So we can do things today, and no other country has anything like that. They don't have anything with the power, with the strength, and with the, you know, it's accuracy. Really, it's accuracy. You got to hit. It's like hitting a needle in a haystack, they were saying, and yet they do it every time. It's pretty amazing, and we have the most talented people operating that equipment. For that, you have to be high IQ. And you have to have no choke, because you have about 12 seconds to make a decision and take the aim. And you have to be very good mathematically. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be very smart. You have to see the education, the schools. They go to the best schools in the world. Some of them come out of, I know I called up a couple. I said, where did you go to school? I went to MIT. Oh, good. That's good. So it's, you know, it's a very different, frankly, it's a very different military in many ways. But we have invested a record-setting amount of dollars, and the U.S. Armed Forces is now stronger than it's ever been, and we're getting stronger, and it's so important. Every branch is setting records in recruitment, and I'm very proud of the Space Force, because that was a branch that, a new one that came up, and we were losing to Russia and to China in space, and we had it as part of the Air Force, but it wasn't really thought of, you know, once it's part of something. And put a great general in charge, and the Space Force is now leading the other countries, China, Russia, and there is no fourth really, and leading them by, we saw numbers the other day, we're leading in space by so much, we're never going to be caught. So I'm very proud of Space Force. First time that's taken place, a new force. The last one was the Air Force, and that was 78 years ago. So this is brand new, and we're very proud of it. It's turned out to be, I think it's going to be one of our most important as time goes by. A lot of the things that you see, a lot of the accuracy of the weapons is caused because of what we created with Space Force. So we're very proud of that. But every branch is setting records in recruitment. When last year, if you remember, before I came to office, actually after the election, it started picking up rapidly, to be honest with you. November 5th, we had a little election. We did quite well. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything. We won 87% of the counties. We won it all. But I will tell you, right after that election, it started. But before that, we had the worst recruiting in the history of our country. People didn't want to be in the armed services. They didn't want to be police. They didn't want to be firemen. They didn't want to be anything with a uniform representing our country. And it was the lowest number we've ever had. And I can say very confidently that at this moment, we have the highest recruitment, the most successful recruitment for the military, Army, Navy, the Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, all of it. We have the highest recruitment, the best recruitment that we've ever had. We have lines of people wanting to get in. We're taking people based on their fitness and their quality. We're taking, you wouldn't believe what the difference it is. And Washington, D.C. is an example. And that's why it's so sad when Melody comes up and talks about that one event, because, the numbers in Washington, D.C. Are so incredible. The numbers have gone down from we had a place that was so unsafe, our great capital, and now it's considered one of the safest cities anywhere in the United States. We went to Memphis, and Memphis was a killing field practically, and now it's down. The numbers are down. Crime 80%. In New Orleans, Louisiana, the governor called up, Jeff Landry, said, "Sir, we have the Mardi Gras coming up and we have a lot of crime in the city. Can you do something?" And we put our people there, mostly National Guard, but whatever's necessary. And we have, crime was down 79% after 2.5, 3 months. And by the way, if they had the brains in Chicago, they'd ask us to go there. We'll solve the problem for them very quickly. We'd go to San Francisco very quickly. San Francisco would be so easy for us. We'd go to New York and help them out. We'd love to help them out. And we'd get crime numbers down 70%, 80%, 90% in a matter of months. We took it in D.C. was really bad. I don't want to go into the numbers in terms of using the word murder, but it was really bad. And it's gone from that to being, we're down 92%. And actually, I'm trying to figure out, the 8%, who they are. One of the things we did, and some people like it, but the numbers speak for themselves. If you really get down, you see drug traffic coming into our country is way down. And by ocean, by the water, a lot of people say, "What do you mean by sea? Is it sea like vision?" No, it's the SEA, but it's down 97%. Think of it, 97%. For years, they'd grab a boat and they'd bring him in and they'd see a judge and they'd let him out, and the next day he's back in his country, bring in more drugs in. Nothing worked. We're down, nothing, get worse. Down 97%. And we're trying to figure who the 3% are, because we consider them to be maybe the bravest people anywhere in the world. You look at those boats, and you feel terribly, except for one thing. Those boats, 25,000 people die from just a couple of those boats. Think of it, from drugs, ruin families, ruin everything. And when you see that, you say, thank you very much. But drugs coming in by sea are down 97%. And now we've started the land force, which is much easier. And you'll hear some complaints from some people in, like, representatives from Mexico and other places. But if they're not going to do the job, we're going to do the job. Easy one by comparison to the sea. We had to do the sea first. You had no idea how much came in by water. And very little, almost nothing is coming in right now. They don't want to do that anymore. But no one should ever doubt the resolve of America's military moms. They're incredible. From the start of our republic down to today, our nation's been strengthened by the love and devotion and the commitment of incredible women. These are really incredible women who've served our country, supported our troops, and poured out their care and compassion for this nation that we all love. So I just want to thank everybody and happy Mother's Day, and God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, chat. It's been 3 hours and 48 minutes screaming with you guys. Really appreciate it. Love you guys. Love each other. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with that. He said both parties are a failure. We'll work that out. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, guys.